Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, gather around as we all talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of television. I'm talking a little bit of Mandalorian here in just a little bit. And, of course, joining me here on this wonderful Friday, I got a full house here today, actually, for a Friday, which is a little bit unusual. First of all, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett is here. Robert, how you doing, sir?
John, I am doing quite well. You know, I love these getting up early in the morning on Friday to watch new Star Wars episodes.
Oh, you know what? It's great because I got up this morning to go to the gym and I totally forgot that today was Mandalorian Day. So I got on the treadmill, brought my iPad, just watched Mandalorian as I was going.
On the treadmill?
Yeah, well, I was on the
treadmill. You gotta watch it on a big screen with surround sound.
Well, it was either that or not watch it in time.
Oh, well.
So I didn't have a choice. But anyway, also joining us here on this wonderful day, she went to go see Queen of Slim with me last night. Erin Cummings is here. Erin, how you doing?
I am great, and I rolled out of bed about 30 minutes ago, so I did not watch anything, and I did not work out. That's okay. I will be watching it this afternoon as soon as I get home.
Yeah, and I'm sure, by the way, a lot of you who are also, international friends joining us on the West Coast or whatever, maybe it was a little bit early for you, but some of you on the East Coast, you probably had plenty of hours to talk about. So listen, we are going to talk about the Mandalorian episode, non-spoilers, of course. Ann and I will be doing a spoilers review of Mandalorian episode 3 a little bit later today, so keep your eyes open for that. We're going to talk about what really is going on with Godzilla and Kong. It is a huge blockbuster film. It is now just a few months away. We have still not seen anything from it. Could it be getting delayed? We'll talk about that in a second. We're talking a lot about the fall of cable television lately, but will the fall of cable ultimately lead to a dramatic spike in costs for streaming? We're going to talk about that, some of the advantages and disadvantages of the binging model versus the week-by-week episode model. Why do television shows often have different directors directing every single episode? That and a few things more. But before we get on to anything else, we're going to talk about this right off the top. And we're going to start with a little movie that Erin, you and I went to go see last night, and that is Queen and Slim. So I went to go see Queen and Slim last night at the ArcLight in Hollywood. And I was expecting, it just looked like it was going to be kind of a thrilling Bonnie and Clyde on the run kind of movie. And I'm going to tell you, it is some of those things. What it was at its core, though, to me, and I'm going to be interested in hearing your thoughts on this, Erin, but at its core to me, that most surprised me, and I mentioned this in my quick little review, my 1 minute after movie theater reaction video that I did, is it is unexpectedly sweet. Like that was a part of this movie that I was not expecting to see. But you get these two characters who are essentially strangers when the movie starts. And really, despite everything else that's going on in the movie, and there's a lot of good stuff going on in the movie, but at its core, at least for me as an audience member, was watching this very sweet relationship develop and this chemistry develop in the most horrific and terrible of circumstances. And it is also a Bonnie and Clyde on the run kind of movie. And it is also a bit of a road movie. And it is also a bit of a bunch of other things that you would probably gather from the trailer about what it is. But again, the part that I did not pick up from the trailer that really did surprise me was just the overall sweetness and just how connected I felt like I was becoming to these characters. And I was invested in them the whole way. From the beginning of the movie, which, tiny spoiler, very first shot of the movie is them on their first date, getting together for the first time over at a dinner. And their dynamic right away won me over. I'm like, I could watch 2 hours of these two awkwardly talking. I could watch 2 hours of this. It was really, really enjoyable, and I got very, very much out of it. I'm going to say this. It's not in my top 5 movies of the year, but as of right now, it probably is in my top 10. And it's if it is a movie that to any of you even remotely thought, this might be interesting to see, I would recommend going out to see it because there's a lot in there for everybody. Is it a perfect movie? No. It does suffer in a few places for me with, there's some pacing issues a few times throughout the movie. There's also a couple of moments that I went, did they really just have that character say that or do that? There was a couple of those, yes. But to me, the good of the film far outweighed any of those things. And again, at its core, Rob, you often talking about, regardless of whatever genre, make good stories with good characters. That's what they did with Queen and Slim. And I was really, really happy with it. Aaron, you had a chance. You watched this with me last night, and you and I didn't have much of a chance to talk afterwards, but what were your overall impressions of Queen and Slim?
Oh my gosh. Okay, you're going to have to cut me off because I have so many things to say about this movie. I have met Jodie Turner-Smith, and so before I even heard about the movie, I met her and spoke to her about the movie, and she could not have been more lovely, so I was very aware of this. She and I actually have the same manager, and so that's how I knew about it. And I was really excited to see this film. So I was. Thank you again for inviting me. You know, one of the things that I love about this movie is, as you said, their chemistry right from the get-go. Even when they're even, and I don't mean that in a sexual way or in a romantic way. Even just their dynamic with one another, how they're constantly building each other up without tearing each other down, even when they're having an argument. Like, they just have this beautiful chemistry with one another. But also the supporting actors. Corinne Woodbine, who plays Uncle Earl, was phenomenal. Flea makes a surprise appearance, which I was definitely not expecting.
I didn't even catch that because you leaned over to me like, I'm like, what? And because you're trying to be quiet because we're in a movie. I'm like, you got to say it again. That's Flea.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, that's Flea.
Which it'll be interesting to see if
Kid
Kid Rock makes a little comment on Twitter about what Flea did to get in the movie business like he did about Taylor Swift. But that's another conversation. You know, I was listening to a really great podcast this morning, radio show podcast called The Breakfast Club, where they were interviewing Lena Waithe. And what she was saying is, you know, because they also compared it to Bonnie and Clyde. And she said, you know, yes, there's been a lot of comparisons, but when you see the film, you realize that that really is only skin deep, because whereas Bonnie and Clyde were these outlaws, these criminals, Queen and Slim were just black people living their lives. And for people who are not familiar with the premise of the story, it's, you know, a black couple who are on their way home from a first date. He's about to drop her off, and they get pulled over for a minor traffic infraction, and white police officer, things escalate very quickly, and they end up killing the police officer in self-defense. That's not a spoiler. And they decide to run. And over the course of the next 6 days, their interactions with people, you really see the different dynamics within the black community. Some people are supportive, some people not so much, and you see how they how they navigate through that and how they overcome certain obstacles. And there's so many nail-biting moments. I mean, John, I know that I was grabbing your arm at certain points.
It's like
I
a
was
horror
like
movie.
gasping at certain points, you know. And the end of the movie, I mean, my hands were just covering my face, and only my eyes could.
And there's some big surprises.
And just tear. It is a movie that really just rocked me to my core. And I have to also say this, since this is a movie show, I feel like I want to take a minute to talk about this. Lena Waithe, the way that this developed was James Fry came up to her at a party, said, I have this idea for a movie, gave her the kernel, and said, but I can't write it. You need to write it. So she said, okay, I'm going to go write this movie. Maria Matsoukas was directing the Thanksgiving episode on Master of None. She and Lena got together, and Lena was like, you've got to, you know, direct this movie. She then had dinner with Daniel Kaluuya and told him about the movie. He said, I want to read it. And then he came back and said, I want to play Slim. So she wrote the movie. Maria got attached to it. They agreed to have Daniel play Slim. And then all of a sudden, she said every single studio was like, we want this movie. We want this movie. She said this wasn't a movie that we had to go out and sell. Hey, 2 black people and they kill a cop. Doesn't sound like a movie that, you know, Hollywood would come clamoring for. But she said there was a bidding war over it. People were sending them gifts, and they were in the incredible position to basically say, these are our terms. And it's really incredible. If you have a chance, go and watch listen to the Breakfast Club podcast, the interview with Lena Waithe, to hear all of their demands and to see how, if you create the content, you can write your own ticket in Hollywood.
And it is a movie that really does exceed what you think the basic premise is when you see the trailer. And I was quite taken with it. What do you guys, some of you, I know they've done some fan screenings across the country. Have some of you guys seen it? If not, where's your expectations levels been for it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. One more thing off the top here before we get into our main topics, and that is that I mentioned, on the glory of a treadmill this morning with my iPad, watching the newest episode of The Mandalorian, came home, and then Ann said, wait, there was a new episode of The Mandalorian? Because, she didn't know I was doing that on the treadmill. So we popped it on again and watched it again.
So you watched it twice this morning.
So I watched it twice this morning. And by the way, I should tell you of a quick conversation. I put that for those of you who follow me on Twitter, I have this up on Twitter, quick conversation at the end of Mandalorian. I said, and you know what's interesting, honey? Deborah Chow, who is going to be directing the Obi-Wan series, directed this episode. And then Ann goes, Obi-Wan series? Is he going to find a Baby Yoda too? And then she goes, oh, wait a minute. All Star Wars shows should find a Baby Yoda. And then all the Baby Yodas should find each other and do a Baby Yoda Avengers movie. I'm like, I'm so happy that I'm married to you.
Like Baby Muppets.
Like the Baby Muppets. There you go. The Muppet Babies. Anyway, the new episode of Mandalorian dropped. And I'm going to tell you, before we go over to Robert Meyer Burnett, this is the best episode yet. Oh my God, I love this episode. And I feel like there's a rule over there and I'm not going to give any spoilers away here, but I feel like there's a rule over there at Lucasfilm that for The Mandalorian, every episode has to come up with a killer catchwon't whether it's I have spoken. Or this is the way. It's like, yeah! And I won't give away the context of it. I thought this was great because it did a couple of things that this episode did. One, it really got into more of the background of understanding what's going on with the Mandalorians themselves. And I have a few theories, but I'll save those for the spoiler video a little bit later today when Ann and I do the spoiler video. It again, you see a development. I don't know how they're doing this with a guy wearing a mask the whole time. You're seeing a development and an evolution in the character himself. Of course, you got a little bit of Baby Yoda. You get a little bit of we're starting to develop a picture about what's going on with this little creature. Why is this thing so valuable at this point? All that kind of stuff. I just think the tone and the atmosphere have been killer. And again, it has fed into the thing. And one of the things that I've really liked about The Mandalorian so far, that they established in the very first episode was, this is a serialized Western. This is a Western serial. And they are carrying that through every step of the way. And I got to tell you guys, I thought last week's was the best one yet. I didn't need this week's to be as good as last week's because I thought last week's was fantastic, but it exceeded it. And I'll tell you what, speaking about Deborah Chow, I was very excited because Deborah Chow's got an incredible resume. Like we've talked about on this show, her resume, she has worked on AAA shows throughout her career over the last number of years. She's wonderful. Then when I heard that she's directing all of the Obi-Wan series, I thought that's interesting because normally that's not what happens. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. I have never been more excited for the Obi-Wan series than I am today after seeing what she did with this episode. Now, I want to just jump over quick here because that is the theory, that is the query of today's question of the day. I asked you guys, I literally just put this up about 15 minutes ago. I asked you guys, the new Mandalorian episode 3 is here. Where does it rank for you so far amongst the episodes we've seen? As of right now, about 800 of you have had a chance to vote on this. 78% of you are saying this is the best one yet.
Wow.
15% of you are saying it is the second best one yet. And 7% of you are saying it's the third best one yet. And of course, there have only been 3 episodes so far. So that's kind of where we're at. I effing loved this episode. Dug it. And we've got somebody else here in the room who has seen this episode. Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, you saw it. You were not quite as taken with this episode as I was, personally.
Well, here's the thing. I'm coming at it from sort of a different perspective. I thought I loved the story and I loved everything that we learned and what we were shown. And I thought that was great. My objection, but I think my disappointment, and I understand why I feel this way and why it is the way it is. The scope of the storytelling is vast and it's large and it's big, and you're learning a lot about Star Wars mythology, the mythology about the Mandalorian, all this stuff. But from a production standpoint, it seems like it's all set on one street. And it is. Like the Mandalorian, literally, they spend a lot of time, and I understand why, because I even did a show about Lucasfilm's new stagecraft technology that they're using to make this show, which is amazing. But it's like we have a lot of scenes where the Mandalorian walks down the street, and it's like all these locations are right next to each other. It's like, let's go into door number 1, and there's this thing going on. And then there's door number 2, and then there's this secret base, which is door number 3. And it seems to me like the scope of this show, the storytelling is wide and expansive, but the scope, like the actual location, seems really tiny. And I really felt that in this episode. Now, here's the thing. It's like you said, John, it's a Western serial. It feels like you're in a Western town, which makes sense because in a Western town, it's not like you had a sprawling metropolis. A Western town is a Western town.
Right.
And so that's sort of my objection. And my only other objection is I think I want the Mandalorian to be more of a badass than he is.
Yeah, now you and I are at odds on this.
He always
In
gets,
what way, Robert?
Well, he always gets into these scraps, right? Where and a part of that has to do with the actual setting. Like there is a battle in the streets in this particular episode, which is very cool. And what happens in this battle is very cool. But the battle seems like it takes place in about 20 feet of space. And I know it's a street and all that, and from a production standpoint, it's keeping the budget down. But what they're trying to do is large, but it feels small. And that bothers me.
Yeah, and I disagreed. I didn't get that feeling at all. I get a tremendous, like if you sit down and do a laundry list, some of which we can't talk about yet because it was in today's episode. But when you go through the laundry list of all the badass things that the Mandalorian has done, I don't know. But listen, that's the thing. One of the things that you said that I absolutely have to concur with is that, yeah, there's a number pieces. I mean, he's gone off world and all that kind of stuff, but it does kind of feel like when you're talking about, and this goes all the way back to the first episode,
right?
That, the Bounty Hunters Guild is on that corner.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian hideout is over on that corner. And this former Imperial thug is over on that corner.
Right.
It's like, what was the Daniel Day-Lewis movie that he did with Martin Scorsese?
Gangs in New York.
Yeah, it's very Gangs in New York. It's like the five corners, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of what it felt like a little bit. And I concede that. I guess that didn't bother me, though. It doesn't bother me on that level.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a TV show, and they're trying to do a Star Wars. It's supposed to look like a Star Wars movie.
And it feels like it.
Even though it's a very expensive show, and what they're trying to do is pretty epic, but it just feels, from a production standpoint, it feels a little small to me.
Right. Guys, the question is, have you guys had a chance to see the new episode of The Mandalorian, The Sin? If so, what did you think? We'll check in back. Again, normally I don't do the question of the day this early on in the show. We'll go back and check in on that a little bit later, because maybe some of you guys have some different ideas, or maybe some of you are just joining us because you just finished watching the episode. But anyway, jump on down the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's now move on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here in the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. See, you guys come up with them by simply going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, fill out the form with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's move on to our first topic of the day. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Geeky Gator, who writes, "Hey, John and gang. Disney Plus was marketing a lot of pre-release. However, now, after the service is launched, I have seen no marketing for new episodes of their TV shows like Mandalorian or World According to Jeff Goldblum. I forgot there was a new Mandalorian episode today. Don't you think they should market more, or are they taking the Netflix approach?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And I gotta tell you, Geeky Gator, I've heard a few people say this, but I don't quite understand where you're coming from. Here's an example. When you look around, I'm seeing a lot of commercials for the Disney Plus service. Like just a lot of commercials for the Disney Plus service. Right now, they're pointing towards that. And in all the Disney Plus ads, I'm seeing Mandalorian, and I'm seeing Jeff Goldblum, and I'm seeing other things that are in the library and things like that. They're really trying right now to drive everybody to the service. But even with traditional television, you don't see, for instance, CBS. I don't know. What's a big CBS show?
NCIS.
NCIS, great. What you don't see is you don't drive around town and see a billboard for this week's episode of NCIS. You don't pop on, you don't go into a movie theater and see a poster on the wall for next week's episode of Lucifer. Which there should be for the one that Aaron's is going to be on.
Yes,
so there should
that
be
is a Netflix show, though.
And that one is a Netflix show. Heck yeah, it is now. It used to be Fox
But
show.
like Blue Bloods, you don't see billboards.
Yes, for the next episode, right? So what they are doing is, unlike Netflix, which, by the way, did you hear there's this movie on Netflix? Never even heard of it. Did you hear there's this new show on Netflix? Never even heard of it. It's not a matter of marketing each individual episode. It's about marketing the show. And I continue to see a lot of marketing for the service itself and the show. So if what we're looking for is, every week taking out a new ad campaign for each episode, that's something even traditional television doesn't do. CBS will put on a commercial on their own network that they don't need to pay for something like that. But other than that, it's kind of business as usual. Rob, you've been in this business. You've been on every end of this business, from writing films and editing them, and then being a producer, and even having to think about what are we going to do with this thing when it's done.
Even craft services.
Yeah, he's done craft services. He's made some baked mac and cheese. So, Rob, do you think there's something here? Like, should they be marketing each individual episode? Should they just continue marketing as a show as a whole? How do you see this?
Well, because what are they selling? They're selling their streaming service. Now, I think they're selling holistically everything that's on their streaming service. And they don't want people to think, oh, there's only The Mandalorian.
Right.
When Disney Plus, you've got everything. You've got old classic. You can watch Steamboat Willie. You can go back and watch the entire development of the history of the Mickey Mouse character if that's what you want to do. And I think what I find really interesting about this streaming service, especially Disney Plus, is when I'm on there, and Elizabeth, my girlfriend, has spent a lot of time on there recently, I'm surprised. I'm always surprised when I find her watching. Like, I'll go in and she's like, yeah, I remember this from when I was a kid. And there is this weird, unlike Netflix and unlike any other streaming service, there's a whole lifetime of nostalgia. And she's just jumping around going, oh, I used to love this when I was a kid, because it's one studio's output. And you've literally got the entirety of Disney's output, which means so much to so many people because we all grew up with it.
Yeah.
And so there's an element of Disney Plus that I find fascinating that doesn't exist anywhere else, where, like, I was Candle Shoe, the Jodie Foster movie I saw when I was a little kid that I really like because she's kind of a tomboy and she's involved in this mystery with this mansion and this old woman. And I'm like, man, I haven't seen that since I was like 9 or whenever it came out. And I started watching it. I'm like, this is really good. Like, I would never rent that movie, but it's there. So there is a really interesting lifelong, people's lives are in Disney Plus.
Was Babes in Toyland a Disney show? Do you guys remember that movie, Babes in Toyland?
I don't think it
with Martin Mull and Drew Barrymore.
Did Roger Ebert write that?
I don't know.
Roger Ebert wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Sorry. Thank you.
Which I have on Blu-ray.
Of course
you have that one. Aaron, what about you? Do you think there's a strategy or an approach here they should be taking with how they market the shows as a whole, the service as a whole, individual episodes? How do you see it?
Well, no, I completely agree with what you were saying about we don't see marketing for individual episodes in traditional television. I will say, though, what I do like is for my HBO, I get a little notification, hey, there of shows that they see that I watch all the time. Hey, there's a new episode of John Oliver. Hey, there's a new episode of The Righteous Gemstones. I like that. I like getting a little alert on my phone for shows that I don't know if I'm subscribed to them or they just are tracking my viewing habits. I do think that that's something that the streaming channels are going to have to start incorporating if they want to start marketing individual episodes. Otherwise, I don't even know how they would market. Like, what would be the most effective way of marketing an individual episode? I agree with what you guys were saying. You want to drive the traffic to the streaming network, and from there people will discover those things, and it always will have a little, oh, there's a new episode, it'll have a little ticker next to it. So yeah, I don't really understand what we're hoping for with specific advertising.
Question is here, guys, how do you feel the way they're handling it? By the way, because I have the Disney Plus app installed on the iPad, I actually get a little note. I do get those little notifications.
Oh, you do?
About, yeah.
Okay, well then there you go. That's their advertising.
So a little thing like that too. But how do you guys think they should be approaching this sort of thing? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our second main topic today. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Michael, who writes, "Hey John, big fan. Thank you so much, Michael. So there has been no promotional material, posters, or trailers for Godzilla vs. Kong yet. What does this mean for the film? Is it going to be delayed? Maybe the studio has lost some faith in the film due to the poor reviews of Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and a smaller than expected box office haul. Thanks." All right. Thanks for sending that in, man. And now look, let's preface this by something. I often get a lot of questions from very worried people, Rob. Very worried, concerned people.
We're dealing with very worrisome issues, John.
Some very worrisome.
These are big deals.
These are big deals. Issues of, John, X movie is coming out in just 7 months, and we haven't got a trailer yet. I mean, listen, you think I'm being facetious, but I'm not. I've gotten those panicked emails from movies that are 10 months away.
3 in the morning. I don't know what's going on.
And by the way, John, we're not, I mean, these are pressing issues of the day. I don't mean to make light of our viewers.
They
because
affect our daily
where's
lives.
my No Time to Die trailer, yo? What's
that's
up?
right. Where's that? So I am often the one that's going, guys, you're talking about commercials. You're talking about a commercial. Where's my commercial? Don't worry about it. You know, I've been saying for a long time, studios have had too long of a lead time for a lot of years on how much they market and how early they start marketing. And we're seeing them starting to correct that. That window is starting to get a little bit shorter. There are some exceptions, but there you go. So I'm always the one saying, everybody relax. Relax. But I got to admit, guys, in this situation, even I, the one who's always telling people to calm down and relax, even I'm starting to raise an eyebrow a little bit. Listen, Godzilla vs. Kong is not Queen and Slim. It's not Parasite. It's not some smaller budget, little artistic film that, you know, we can sneak in and do well for what it is and then slip out, you know, hopefully doing well for what it was. This is a tentpole by design, big blockbuster film. At least they hope it is. And normally with these, you want to give a little bit, you'll invest a few more marketing dollars, you give a little bit more of a ramp up, all that kind of stuff. We are in the 3+ month now range. It's under 4 months, a little over 3 months. So over 3 months, just over 3 months, until this movie's supposed to come out and hit theaters. The lack of a trailer is not on its own a major concern to me. What does become concerning is when you have the lack of a trailer combined with no posters, no announcements, no events, no anything. We have heard nothing. And I'll tell you what this is starting to remind me of, Rob. It's starting to remind me a little bit. It's starting to feel, and I'm not saying it is the same situation. I'm just saying it's starting to feel a little bit like that Daisy Ridley Tom Holland film, whose name, the name of it eludes me right now, where it was supposed to come out, and all of a sudden we got to within about 2.5 months of when it was supposed to come out.
The Doug Liman movie.
The Doug Liman movie, whose name is still eluding me, and going, it's 2.5 months, and we're still not hearing anything. And then what eventually happened? We heard that it's actually, the movie's a bit of a disaster and they've pushed it off, could be up to a year. And then that's what happened. And I'm not saying that is the same situation that we have now with Godzilla versus Kong. I'm just saying it's starting to feel ickily like it. It's starting to feel on a very icky level a little bit like that. Because even I, who say, relax guys, or just talk, I'm starting to wonder what's going on here. Rob, listen.
Chaos Walking.
Chaos Walking. Thank you, Aaron. That was the name of the film. Rob, so let me ask you first. Should we be raising our eyebrows at this point? Or are we still theoretically long enough out that, nope, nothing to see or hear yet? How are you feeling about it?
Well, we are getting into the end of the year. And I think that there's a lot going on. There's craziness happening. There's Oscar candidates being positioned. True. There's a lot happening. The ramping up to Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. There's a lot of really interesting films coming out in the next month. I think for this, and I'm only trying to play devil's advocate here, because I'm hoping, I love giant monsters. I've loved kaiju movies my whole life. I love Godzilla, King of the Monsters, as anyone knows, because it's a throwback to Toho's movies. So I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see Godzilla versus King Kong. The Toho box set came out from Criterion 2 weeks ago of all the 15 Godzilla movies from the Showa era. So I'm more than anyone deliriously excited to see Godzilla and King Kong go head to head again. But I think that perhaps they might want to wait to ramp up. They learned from the long lead time from Godzilla, King of the Monsters, that I think people knew it was coming for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
I think they want to create excitement by doing the opposite. They're going to wait till first of the year when the excitement for all these, everyone's coming back from the holidays, and they're going to hit us with a 1-2 punch, or in this case, Godzilla's atomic breath, and then 1-2 punches from
Kong himself.
And that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's not a disaster. I can't wait to see this movie. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking they're just holding off to get all of this end of the year excitement out of the way. Because Godzilla versus Kong is not, it doesn't scream Christmas to me, John. No, it doesn't scream the holidays.
It does not scream although there's an opportunity there to put up a Kong versus Godzilla poster and put Santa hats on them for now, and everybody go, ah! Aaron,
thinking Godzilla with little ornaments all over his gills.
Aaron, Rob raises a good point that we've talked about before, is that, with Godzilla King of the Monsters that was just out this year, that they dropped the first trailer for that a year in advance. And by the time the movie came out, everybody's like, wait, that didn't come out like 8 months ago?
Yeah.
And whatever.
They feel like they've already seen it.
So how do you see? Do you think it's like Rob is suggesting that it's just like, hey, they learned their lesson from the last movie. They just don't want it to get lost in the mix with all the Christmas marketing that's going on for all these other projects, and they'll get to it after the new year begins? Or is there something here to be concerned about? Or is it something in the middle? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think that it's more the holiday season than it is the lead time, because 3 months is not a long lead time. I mean, I think that if we were in April, for example, and this was going to be coming out in the summer and it was going to be a big summer blockbuster, then absolutely we would have seen posters. It's more about they don't want to get all gunked up in the muss of the holidays. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if we see a teaser, maybe not a full trailer, but a little teaser that premieres maybe during a Thanksgiving football game or one of the early bowl games around like New Year's. I would not be surprised if we see just a little bit of a hint like, hey, get ready, because come January 2nd, we're going to be hitting you with a lot of Godzilla and King Kong, and that they just go balls out and really shove it down our throats in January. But yeah, I agree with Robert. I think it's just, there's a lot going on right now, and you don't want to compete with all of the holiday films that are coming out and being advertised. But don't be surprised if we see a little bit of something. I do think, though, if there were major issues, we would be hearing more about, John, you got your finger on the pulse of what's going on. You know people. If there was a major problem, I think that someone would have whispered in your ear about it.
Yeah, and that's true. That's very astute, because no one said anything. And I would say, remember, this movie is contingent upon visual effects. And I don't think they want to show anything until they've got some really great finished shots. Godzilla King of the Monsters did, but this movie's been, it hasn't been in production that long for a big sci-fi visual effects epic. So maybe they're just waiting until they have some really great shots to show us.
Maybe no news is good news.
Yeah.
Maybe. Question is, guys, how are you feeling about it? Is it like, yeah, we're still way too early to panic, but maybe starting to raise our eyebrows? Do you see, no, they just learned their lesson from Godzilla. Christmas season, whatever. How do you guys feel about this? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's now move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Serenity Falcon, who writes, do you think that the streaming services will eventually destroy all cable and satellite companies? Once these companies no longer provide entertainment content, do you think the streaming services will increase their subscription costs to the point that we are no longer seeing any savings? All right, thanks a lot for sending in that question, Serenity. And listen, this is a big question. And it is a question I have heard people in corporate offices around the entertainment industry talking about and asking about. And it's a completely relevant question, because right now these streaming services, amongst competing with themselves, are also competing against traditional television, the cable networks and stuff like that. More and more people are becoming cable cutters, like I did like a decade ago. More and more people are getting these streaming services. More and more people are getting their entertainment from the streaming services. So a lot of people are heralding the coming of the end of cable. Okay. But then what happens when that occurs? What happens when Disney Plus and Netflix no longer have to worry about the attention deficit that people would have because of cable is there as well to take their attention away from the stream? What's going to happen then? And what the fear of a lot of people has been is that when cable disappears in whatever form or becomes significantly shrunk, that will open the door of opportunity for Amazon Prime, for Netflix, for Hulu, for Disney Plus to go, now, did we say $7 a month? Yeah, now it's $37 a month. What are you going to do? You going to go watch cable? You know, there's that fear that is there. And I think that's a legitimate fear. And I think, listen, outside of the entertainment industry, guys, we have seen this play out in different industries. You know, one certain thing disappears and all of a sudden prices rise because there is less competition. Here's my general feeling on that right now as far as this goes. I think one of the things that will insulate us as consumers from that sudden price spike in our streaming services once cable goes the way of the dinosaur. And by the way, that's not about to happen tomorrow. Let's be clear about that. Cable's not going anywhere for a little while, folks. But when it does, I think one of the things that will insulate the consumer a bit is the sheer number of streaming services that are now popping up. So while the competition of cable may not be there, the fact of the matter is we've got Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and Amazon Prime, and we're about to have Peacock. And we're about to have HBO Max, and there are more. There are more. Our friend Mark Ellis just put out a comedy special on a platform that I never even heard of.
By the way, I watched it.
I saw about 20 minutes of it the other day.
It's
I need
really
to finish
good.
up. Of course, Mark's brilliant. Mark's one of the great comedians. Dumb as a rock, but he's one of the most brilliant comedians. I had to say that. But he is one of the best stand-up comedians I've seen in a long time. And I'm not just saying that because I know the guy. But, and that was a new thing. It's like, wait a minute, what's this one? It's like, I think Bill Burr owns that.
Love Bill Burr.
He's one of the executive producers of Ellis's comedy special.
Right, because it's his platform. So there are these new platforms popping up all the time. By the way, Ellis, you better be sending me a promo check. We're pushing your comedy special. It's called, what is it called? Dog
Stepfather.
Dog Stepfather. Go check it out.
And what is this streaming service that it's on that no one's ever heard of?
I cannot remember the name of it.
You're not going to get that check today then.
Yeah, that's true. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was either, but I was surprised by it.
But they put it up on YouTube.
Yeah,
they also put it up on YouTube.
So the show is called Dog
Stepfather is the name of his comedy special.
Stepfather.
And when you find out what that means, it's really good.
Okay.
It's good.
Well, if Bill Burr is attached to it, then I'm in.
So
anyway, back to what we were saying.
All these and more are coming, guys. More are coming. Because I'll tell you right now, I have been approached by, well, seriously only one, but another one kind of. I've been approached by upcoming new platforms asking me if I would like to license the John Campea Show to such and such streaming platform. To which I said no. But we have more coming. And I think, Rob, that maybe one of the things that will insulate us is the fact that we're going to have maybe not the cable competition, but there's going to be a lot of other competition for that streaming dollar. And I think that will keep things in check. I hope. I don't know, Rob, how do you see that playing out?
Well, there's a reason I called my YouTube channel The Burnett Work.
Okay, coming in 2020.
Yeah, no.
Is that one of the streaming networks that's offered to license the John Campea Show?
It might be. It might be.
No, but the idea was, I think what's so great is ultimately distribution. As long as we have platforms like YouTube or things like that, it does put it in the hands of content creators, which is kind of neat. But no, I think look, they can't raise their prices that much. They are going to raise their prices, make no mistake. I mean, Netflix is leveraged to the hilt. They've borrowed billions of dollars to make their shows. And at one point when they reached, I heard they're going to get up to 250 million subscribers, and not that far away. And they're eventually they raise their prices $2 or $3 a month times 250 million.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good chunk of change right there. So it really depends on how this all shakes out. I wouldn't be worried. I mean, everyone's always talking about these doomsday scenarios about, they're going to, like you said, John, $37 or whatever. They're not going to do that because competition won't let them. The more streaming services that come out, the more they're going to compete for your dollar. And they know not everybody's going to be paying $30 a streaming service a month. Nobody wants to do that. But it is a different landscape. I always look at the phone company. When was the last time you went into a phone booth and put a quarter into a payphone?
Been a while.
Been a long time. And it pretty much happened overnight. It wasn't like it took a really long time. These seismic shifts in how we get our entertainment, we're seeing a huge sea change across the board. And it's interesting to watch, but I don't think we have to worry about the fact that we're going to be soaked for all of our streaming services. Because right now, it's a very competitive marketplace. And they're about to launch a bunch more. So I think for the time being, consumers are safe. But that doesn't mean in the future. But I'm not worried about it yet. And as far as cable, like you said, John, it's not going anywhere for a while.
Not imminently. Not imminently. Aaron, what do you think is going to be the response to the market, particularly with streaming service, Disney Plus, Hulu? Are we going to see massive price spikes, or are we going to see these checks and balances that keep it in line?
Well, I want to also remind everybody that we, and I don't mean we, the Hollywood community, I mean we as the viewers of your show and us, we are in a little bit of a bubble of how we consume entertainment. We have to think about how the average person is thinking of entertainment.
Right.
The people who are obsessively watching Fox News 24 hours a day are not cutting their cable. The people who are watching, a lot of who are watching Monday Night Football are not cutting their cable. The people who are watching Saturday Night Live on television on Saturday night at 11:30 or whatever time it comes on are not cutting their cable. And also, I want to point out where my parents live in middle of nowhere, Texas, they only this year got unlimited data. And I'm not even saying that they didn't want to pay for it. It wasn't available. Like, I called their cable company and I was like, I don't understand. My parents keep saying that they can't download things because they don't have enough data. Can I just increase their package? And they said, no, you don't understand. There are not cables that are laid where they live. So the amount of data that they're given a month would only allow them to watch a 1 hour program. They could watch 1 hour. They could watch 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, and that is their data usage for the month. And that only happened this year. So yes, while we live in areas that we actually have the ability to stream all day long, there's still a lot of people who live out there in rural areas who don't even have that ability. So cable is not cable. Yes, for the major metropolitan areas and areas that people love to watch. It is happening, but it's not going to go the way of the phone booth. We're still way far away from that. And I agree with you guys. There's going to be so much competition just amongst themselves that they're not going to be able to individually raise their prices because people are just going to go, okay, well, then I guess I just won't watch. The only reason why people were binge watching Friends and it was like, oh my God, Netflix lost Friends or The Office or whatever it was. The reason people were binge watching it was because they could. Because it was right there. And if all of a sudden Netflix wants to raise their prices to $50 a month, people will go, I guess I'm just not going to binge watch Friends then. I'll go binge watch what I can binge watch on Hulu or Amazon Prime. So I don't think we need to worry that much.
Question is, guys, what do you think is going to how do you feel like this streaming new market is going to respond when we eventually do get to a point where cable starts to disappear? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know what you guys think. All right. Let's now move on to our fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Gabriel Borshid, who writes, I'm wondering why some streaming services, we're really on a streaming thing here today. I'm wondering why some streaming services release all of their shows for a season at once versus weekly like The Mandalorian is doing. Could this be a change we see Netflix do in order to keep subscribers? Such as with the Stranger Things, instead of releasing all the episodes at once, they release them slowly, weekly / bi-weekly, so you can't rotate your streaming subscriptions like many people do in order to keep their costs low. All right.
People do that?
Yeah, there are some people who will sign up for like Netflix for like 1 month just so they can watch a new show that dropped, and then they'll
that's
cancel.
Brilliant. Good for them.
And then they'll do that. So that's the question. All right. This goes back to a discussion we had before, but one of the things you got to understand is when Netflix came out, one of the main reasons that Netflix, when doing their original shows, decided to drop all the episodes at once, it was new. It was a new idea. Was because it was the major thing that they could do that would differentiate them from cable. It's like, you don't have to watch your entire season over the course of 2 months. You can watch it all this weekend. And it was something new. It made them stand out from what the traditional cable package was. And that has worked for them to a degree. Now, we have also talked about how that the cost of dropping all your episodes at once is that your shows are very quickly forgotten. As great, we mentioned this before as an example, as great as Stranger Things Season 3 was, nobody was talking about Stranger Things Season 3 a week after it dropped. Everybody had watched it, everybody had talked about it, and everybody had now moved on. And that hurts. I mean, Stranger Things Season 3 was still the number one thing that ever watched on Netflix. But can you imagine if it had done the Game of Thrones thing, where it's week after week after week after week, and the momentum builds and people keep buzzing and talking about it every single week. I mean, look, it's already paying dividends for Mandalorian. We've been talking for Mandalorian for 3 weeks in a row now, and everybody's just getting even more and more and more excited. And I've been talking to people, it's like, oh my God, I've been hearing Mandalorian so good, I'm going to jump on that now. And if people hadn't been talking about it for 3 weeks straight, they may not have caught that fever. But people keep talking, and new episodes drop. Now, we have talked before about how I get it. I do. I get the whole idea of liking the binge. I like it too. But I'm sorry, there is no doubt as far as what is the most advantageous thing to do for a show. It's to release it week after week. I prefer it when it drops as a binge, so I can do that. But that's not what's best for the show. It's not best for the company doing it. And let's face it, it does give us week after week after week we can keep talking about it. So I think the main reason we've seen Netflix do the big binge is because that's what differentiated them from major cable. But I've been saying this for almost a year now, Rob. I am telling you it's not going to be too much longer before Netflix starts dropping things week after week as well. It's coming. I'm just telling you it's coming. They're going to do that as well because they know that's going to help their shows. So that's how I see the reason why we see some networks do it week after week and why some like Netflix still drop it all at once. Amazon does that as well, I believe. I believe Amazon drops all their stuff at once. But that is going to change. And it's honestly for the better, even though it's against how I like to do my viewing habits. Rob, how have you always interpreted and seen about the reason why we get some of these, like why does Disney decide to do after week after week, and why does Netflix decide to do it all at once?
Well, I think, first of all, you're correct. I mean, I know from myself, like I watch shows on Netflix, Sex Education, which I thought was a great show, the Gillian Anderson show that she was in. I watched that. I don't even remember what that show was about. I loved it. I binged it in like 2 days. I really enjoy, from a personal standpoint, the time it takes. I'll watch an episode of a show like Watchmen. I don't know if I love it or hate it yet, but we're going into the 6th episode, and I've liked the time I've actually spent thinking about it during episodes. I know that seems sort of strange, but I used to, when you'd love a movie, it would marinate in your brain. And now the way we're consuming content, it's like, we're going to binge this, we're going to binge that, we're going to go then, and you don't remember what you've watched. You don't enjoy it. I can't internalize. I know lines of dialogue for movies I saw 40 years ago because I've seen them, I love them, I've thought about them, and I don't remember a 10-episode show I watched last week. So I think ultimately, from a personal standpoint, I prefer the weekly model. And I've worked on TV shows before, and I certainly, from a production standpoint, appreciate a weekly model. I can't imagine what it would be like to get 10 episodes of a TV show done before the first episode's going to air. And I've been working on a Netflix show now where the lead time is huge, and it's strange, but that's a different issue. I hope that Netflix goes to a weekly model. I like the weekly model better, and if you want to wait until all the episodes have come out and you can binge it all at once, you can do that too. I did that with the first season of Game of Thrones. I couldn't watch it. I was too busy. And I forgot all about it. When it came out on Blu-ray, I binged the whole thing and it was great and I loved it. I actually watched it twice all the way through. and that was cool too. But I would rather, I like having something to look forward to in my life. I like a weekly destination thing that for a half an hour with The Mandalorian or an hour with Watchmen or whatever. I like that.
Aaron, binge or week after week? What's the best way for them to go about this?
I mean, I'm a binger myself. I will go the Robert route where I will just wait until the season is over and then I'll binge it all myself. I also think that, there's an element that we're not talking about, which is the element of the storytelling. The narrative is this a show that is better when it's binged, because then it's told as one complete extended film almost. Because unlike The Mandalorian, which at the end of every episode has an oh shit moment, like if you have a show that doesn't have an oh shit moment at the end of it, then you may not be compelled to continue to wait the next week. I mean, that was one of the things, House of Cards was the big Netflix, bingeable show that was like really the first one that put them on the map. And I remember distinctly thinking at the end of every episode, yeah, something interesting happened, but there wasn't that, oh my God, I cannot wait until next week. It was, oh wow, what's going to happen next? I'm interested, so I'll just slide on into the next episode. And so I was able to really watch it as one long narrative piece. And that's what I think for me binging really is watching it almost as an extended film versus the anticipation of bite by bite. And I think that that's also part of the way that it's presented. I mean, we did a show called Feed the Beast, which was on AMC, and there was a bidding war between AMC and Netflix. And had it been on Netflix, it would have been a bingeable show. And I think that it would have actually done better because it really was a show that was a slow burn that I think people would have enjoyed as one big chunk. So I think that narrative storytelling has a part in this as well.
All right, question is, guys, I know we all have our preferences, but putting our preferences aside, what do you think actually works better, and how do you see things? And do you think we're going to eventually see that, like a Netflix goes the route of an HBO and of a Disney Plus that do the week-by-week thing? How do you guys see it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. Now let's move on to our final main topic today, guys. And our final main topic today gets submitted to us by Advantage Sharma, who writes, "Hi, John. Greetings from India." Well, thank you so much, man. "I am dying to ask one thing. Why do shows like Game of Thrones, The Crown, etc. have different directors for different episodes? Can't just one director run the whole show?" All right. Thanks a lot for the question. And we seem to have a very anxious person in the class. Aaron, you want to field this one first?
Yes.
Go
May
for
I please? I'm so excited about this question. Thank you for sending it in, Advantage Sharma, because I love talking about the way that television is set up. Okay, so here's how it goes, and we're going to make this really quick. We have 3 episodes. John's directing the first one, I'm directing the second one, and Robert is directing the third one. So while John is directing episode 1, I am going to be in pre-production for episode 2. That means I'm going to be doing location scouting with our location people. I'm going to be viewing audition tapes or actually sitting in the room doing castings. I'm going to be sitting with the producers and with the writers doing tone meetings. I'm going to be in 2 weeks while he's filming of pre-production. Then, while I am filming my episode, while I'm actually like right there with the actors and the crew and we're actually getting it done, John, having finished his episode, will go into post-production, which means that he is going to be doing edits. He's going to be working with the editors on color correction and sound and all the other kind of fun stuff. He's going to be wrapping it all up for his episode. Meanwhile, while I'm still filming my episode, Robert will be in pre-production, which we've already gone over, for his episode number 3. Then, when Robert is filming his episode number 3, I'll go into post-production. And that's the reason why you have rotating directors. It's not uncommon to see a director who's really familiar with the show and has been hired multiple times to do multiple episodes within one season. Sometimes, especially in a cable a network series that has 22 episodes, it's not uncommon for them to do even up to 3 episodes in one season. But the reason why you have directors changing is so that the show can keep on running without having to take any pauses for the very essential steps of pre-production and post-production. There are some shows that go away from this model, such as Mr. Robot, in which Sam Esmail, who, by the way, I used to do all of his student films at AFI. So Sam, why was I never on Mr. Robot? I don't understand, but you did hire Tom, so I appreciate that. So what Sam does is he writes the entire season, and then he films the entire season as one big movie, which I cannot even wrap my brain around, but it's incredible. And he directs every episode. So that is a separate thing, but that's basically why we have different directors for television.
Well, might I add to that? That was a model, too, that pretty much was ongoing since the beginning of the television age. And it had to do with the amount of shows they would shoot a season. Like, for instance, Star Trek The Next Generation, 26 episodes a season. Now, the landscape is changing. Over the last, because of things like HBO, they would do 10 episodes. True Detective, for instance, Cary Fukunaga directed, I think there was 7 episodes of True Detective, and like Mr. Robot, shorter seasons. So they can approach these shorter seasons like a film. And like Aaron just said, by the way, that was an outstanding explanation of why there are multiple directors.
And Deborah Chow is going to be doing all.
And Deborah Chow is going to be doing, because they're
Obi-Wan.
only going to do like 6 episodes of the Obi-Wan series, which makes sense now. The whole Mandalorian and the whole, well, we can get into that later, but it's because of these shorter times. They're making these now like they're making movies. And so it's different. But for series that are longer, yes, like Aaron said, you're looking at how long? 16 weeks, 20 weeks, 30 weeks, 40 weeks of production. And there's no way one person could ever direct a 26 episode season of TV. But now it's smaller.
Also, you don't have the episodes written that early. Like a lot of times with these shows like Mr. Robot, you have the entire season is written in advance before you start shooting. So any scene that takes place in that location, you know that well before the show even starts filming. When you work on a show like Blue Bloods, for example, when you're shooting episode 8 of that season, episode 12 is just being like thought of. They haven't even written that episode yet. They don't even know where the locations are going to be. So that's another thing.
Now, and one other key thing, and that was a great explanation, by the way, about the process of that. The one other thing you got to keep in mind, too, and this is a huge differential thing that has come up before on the show, and that is this. In the world of movies, the director is your engineer. The director is the shipmaster. The director is the one who's kind of most responsible for everything that's going to happen,
and has usually most of the say. Maybe not final say, but a lot of say in all the decisions.
Right. They are other than the producers and the people on the show, they are the most powerful person on that movie. In television, that is not the case. In television, it's the showrunner, or the lead writer, or however you want to put it. And the reason that the writers are more in control is specifically because of what Aaron was just laying out, is that the director is only going to be there for 1 or 2 things. They're not overseeing the whole thing. The writers are the ones who are determining where the show is going, and then they get in individual directors to come in and do their individual spots as the show rolls on. So that's the process. So yeah, we are seeing, because of what Rob brilliantly laid out, the whole idea that we're getting much shorter seasons. So you're going to see now every once in a while, as a matter of fact, I think didn't the last season of Mindhunter, was that the last season all directed?
No, Fincher directed like 3 episodes.
But I'm thinking there was another show that just had a new season that also. So you do see that it does happen, but it's still the rare occurrence. And what these 2 guys said is exactly why.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
And also going into your point, the director of the pilot or the first episode, depending on whether or not they shoot a pilot, that director is really the most that director is the one who has the most say, and that usually a show will hire a very high profile director because that director is really going to set what the entirety of the show in perpetuity will look like. And that is why the director of the very first episode, whether or not they ever do another episode ever. If you directed the first episode of Friends, you don't ever have to direct another episode ever again. You will get paid residuals for every episode ever shown. Reason why, you set up, okay, this is how the show is going to look. And every director after you has to follow that model. And there's usually a, quote, producer director. And the role of that producer director on every show is to make sure that the incoming guest directors know, okay, these are the types of shots that we like to do. We don't do any handheld. We don't do any pans. We don't do any rack focus. This is how our show is shot. You have to stay within the confines of this box. And then you can play all you want within that, but you don't have a lot of leeway to just do whatever you want to do. That's not how it works in television.
All right, guys, question is, what do you think about all that? Does that all make sense for you guys? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, it is now time. It's Friday. We're going into the last segment of the week, which is, of course, is probably the most important segment, your live questions. Now, before we get to your live questions, though, we are going to take a short 4-minute break to stretch our legs, rest the vocal cords, refill our drinks and stuff like that. So if you guys will indulge us and hang tight, we will be back in just 4 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Thank you so much for indulging us as we took a little bit of a break there. We are now back and ready to jump into your live questions, so let's get things rolling. And we're going to start things off here with a live question from Mighty Tank. I like that. Mighty Tank writes, where did he go? There it is. John, did you catch the post-credit scene in Ford v Ferrari? Dominic Toretto walks into the room and says, family, shared cinematic universe confirmed. I just love that. The other day, somebody wrote in and said, I was really disappointed there was no post-credit scene in Ford v Ferrari. Just so you know, Mighty Tank is, of course, just joking. All right, Carlos Eskimo writes, hey, John, yes, I really did want Independence Day 3.
Me too.
It's gonna happen.
I can't be there with you guys. I not after that second one. I just can't do it.
But don't you think it's gonna happen?
No, not after how the second one completely flopped. I mean, they won't do it. They won't do another one. All right, let's see. Taki75 writes, time to talk business, John. If you release the racist werewolf versus crackpipe Jim crossover, I will become a Pat Campea level Patreon supporter. For those, of course, we were talking about Ray's character. Ray has a couple of characters. He does the racist werewolf reviews and crackpipe Jim, and it would be hilarious. What is he talking about when he says Campea level supporter? So Pat Campea level. So on our Patreon page, the highest level you can be is a $100 a month Patreon supporter, and I call that level the Pat Campea level because I created that level for one person, my dad, Pat Campea. So it even says on the description on the Patreon page, come on, Dad, cough it up. As I put in there.
That's so sweet.
And I'm going to say, I think to this day, I don't think my dad has signed up yet. I don't think
what?
my dad. No,
Oh.
no, seriously. I don't think my dad has signed up yet to be a
Oh,
Pat
I thought
Campea.
you created because your dad was doing.
Oh no, I created it so my dad.
Come
would
on,
get on
Pat.
over there.
Come on,
Yeah,
Dad.
Pat,
It's
what's
time-
up, dude?
John needs an allowance.
Bobby and Aaron got to eat.
That's right.
Yeah,
Frickin'.
John has mouths to feed.
But he's buying my siblings' houses. You think he can frickin' sign up for a Pat Campea level
See, that's
Patreon
the problem when
support?
you live in Los Angeles. It's
That's
like the
I
parents
know.
will buy all their other kids' houses because it's like $100,000, and then you're like, "Can I have $1 million for a house? I want to buy a little 2-bedroom in the middle of nowhere."
I know. Don't. I'm not kidding. I had a actually conversation. I was lamenting.
We were talking about it last night.
I was moaning and complaining to my dad the last time we were there, just about how, guys, no, seriously, like a 2-bedroom shack in this area is like going to run you $850,000. It's crazy. So I'm back home lamenting to my dad, and I think my dad took it as me trying to say, "Come on, Dad, buy me a house," which I was not. He goes, "You know, that's a big amount of money." It's like, no, Dad, I'm not asking you to buy me a house. Don't get me wrong. But it is kind of crazy. Whereas if I go home, I can buy a beautiful house for like in American dollars. Like in Hamilton, not some small out of the way shanty town. In Hamilton, I could buy a house for like $450,000 American and have a really, really nice house.
I'm ready for these boomers to start dying off so that we can, and they're gonna have to sell their McMansions to somebody.
McMansions.
And the Gen Xers and the millennials were like, I ain't paying $1.5 million for that. I'll pay you $400,000.
We got to keep going. Sorry, I got us off on this tangent. I apologize.
Los Angeles real estate stories with Aaron, John,
Yesterday
and Rob.
was football, and we talked
Real
a long
estate
time
talk.
about that. So
Okay, next one up. Where are we on here? We're on
Yes,
Eric
there's
Saul, who writes, yes, physical media is dying, but I will continue to buy and build my Criterion collection. 50% off sale at Barnes & Noble. My Criterion junkies. Listen, Eric, one of the things I've been saying for a while is that the dying of physical media should not dissuade those of you who like physical media from buying it. If anything, I think it's completely the opposite. Now is the time to buy this stuff. And for a couple of reasons. One, because like Barnes & Noble's putting it all on sale.
And by the way, Betty Blue, one of my favorite French movies with one of the hottest sex scenes ever in the opening of the film, but the girl goes crazy later, so it's not so great. It's one of my favorite movies, just came out this week on Criterion Blu-ray, and it is the extended international director's cut. Never been available in this country before. Buy it, all of you. Betty Blue, you won't be sorry.
All right, next one up, Christopher Bigelow, who writes, oh, thank you, because I meant to mention this myself, Christopher. Hey, Campea fans, Booksmart is now available on Hulu. I opened up Hulu the other day, and I saw that Booksmart was on it. Guys, it is currently sits at my number 5 favorite film of the year. It is a wonderful movie. It's funny. It's heartfelt. It's a much smarter version of Superbad. That's how I think it's just a much smarter version of Superbad. By all means, go check that out. Okay, K Major writes, "Hey John, read a report from Crackpipe Films that the film Hall Pass starring John Campea received a 30-minute standing ovation. Is that reliable? Pretty much as reliable as all these other things you hear from, we heard in a test screening." Shut up. If somebody says they heard from a test screening, you automatically know they're lying. Man, I still want that Hall Pass movie. Robert, everybody wants you to direct it as well.
Well, you know what? Only if I can be assured of an NC-17 rating, which isn't exactly marketable now, but will you agree to that?
Would you take hard R? Would you take hard R?
Well, that depends.
It also depends if I can get Jennifer Garner to sign up, because that's the only way I'm making this movie. If I can get Jennifer Garner to sign up.
If she's not available, I am.
There you go. We're got our second.
Wow. Well, then I know it's going to be an NC-17.
I'll be the poor man's Jennifer Garner.
I'll be the poor man's. Where are we at here? Okay. Eric Saul writes, Fast and Furious is like beer and cigarettes. Ford v Ferrari is more like cigars and scotch. The gentleman's choice. Stay classy, my friends. Well, I mean, look, there's no comparing Fast and the Furious to Ford v Ferrari. But because they are two totally different types of movies doing totally different types of things and going for two different types of audiences. But Ford v Ferrari, I don't know if you've had a chance to see it yet. I don't think you have yet, Aaron. Have you?
I have not.
Yeah, I didn't think you had a chance to see it.
Really good.
No, it's definitely on my must-see list.
My number 4 film, my number 4 best film of the year right now is Ford v Ferrari. So, by the way, just to recap, number 1, Jojo Rabbit. Number 2, Parasite. Number 3, The Farewell. Number 4, Ford v Ferrari. Number 5 is a tie of Joker and Booksmart. So that's where I'm at right now. Okay, next one up is Darth Impact, who writes, "Do you think the Inhumans can get another shot?" Nope. With Eternals and Celestials in the MCU makes sense. I don't think Kevin Feige wants anything to do with Inhumans. I really don't. And if any of you have seen that abomination Inhuman show. And I remember they did a special event, Rob. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
They did a special event where they showed the first 2 episodes in theaters. You could buy tickets and go see
IMAX.
In IMAX as well. You could go to the theaters and watch it in IMAX, and it's Marvel. And of course, they were saying everything's tied in, and blah, blah, blah. So I was excited, went to go watch it. I wanted to punch somebody in the face. It was so bad. Like, you ever come out of a movie so bad, you just want to get into a fight or something? It's so wretchedly bad, and there was a big fallout with Kevin Feige and Perlmutter over the whole thing about it. That was part of the drama that went on. I don't think Kevin Feige wants anything to do with Inhumans. Have you heard anything different, Rob?
No, and I mean, I know they had plans initially to do something with it, but
yes.
And I love the Inhumans. I love those characters, but I think what they wanted to do, I think they've moved over and made that the Eternals.
Yeah, and by the way, the Inhumans was kind of going to be their replacement for mutants. Guess what? They got the X-Men back. So I just don't know that there's any need for the Inhumans. But who knows? Hey, in the mind of Kevin Feige, anything is possible. Hector Jeter writes, "This is the way, John. This is the way." I was joking with Rob. I feel like every week now, Lucasfilm has a mandate. Every episode of The Mandalorian has to have an incredibly catchy catchphrase coming out of it. This is the way. I love it. All right. Willow Yang writes, "To be honest, I'm more curious to see the finished cut of Trank's version of Fantastic Four than Snyder's Justice League. 1,000%. That remains to me, guys, one of the more interesting stories in the Hollywood movie system lore is the ridiculousness that went on with the Josh Trank Fantastic Four.
Can you give us a summary?
Well, I mean, the basics are this. First of all, Fantastic Four turned out to be a bit of a car wreck. I didn't think it was as bad as some other people did, because I thought the first act was actually pretty solid, and then it falls apart after that. But there were it's so much drama on both sides. On the one side, stories starting to come out about Josh Trank acting completely erratically on set and trashing the houses that he was staying in while shooting in New Orleans, and all this type of stuff. Some of it was true, some of it was complete BS. But then I also heard from inside studio sources that, oh no, they effed Josh Trank over severely on this movie, and they did not, they sat down, they agreed on the movie they were making, and then they just changed their mind. They didn't want to let him make the movie he wanted to make. They hired new editors without his consent or approval. They started re-editing the movie without him. They started doing all the it was just a totally effed up situation. And it's going to go down, I think, as one of the more memorable and interesting stories. And I am completely with you. While I would morbidly be curious to see what a Snyder Cut would look like, I'd be far more interested in seeing what an actual Josh Trank, who of course directed Chronicle, which is amazing, and he directed that new Tom Hardy movie about the Al Capone movie, and why am I forgetting the name of it?
Yeah,
it's a strange one-word title. Anyway, so I'm dying to see that as well. But I'm with you on that, Willie. Do you got have you thought about that at all, Rob? Because that Fantastic Four thing is a thing.
Well,
of
I mean,
lore.
as a lifelong Justice League fan, and as somebody who actually, I mean, I'm not necessarily a Zack Snyder lover, but I like the tone. I really wanted to see his vision of Justice League. So from that perspective, and as a lifelong Justice League fan, I'd really like to see that.
All right, next up here really quick. Ryan Lohner writes, physical media is forever. Buy Laserdisc. You still have some Laserdiscs, don't you there,
You know
Rob?
what, though? Here's the thing. Yes, I have Laserdiscs. I've got about 100. But let me tell you something. NTSC video, which existed at the time, Laserdiscs was the best way to get that video.
Yes, it was.
Now, 4K is the promise of home theater finally made flesh. So there I am, man. I don't care about my Laserdiscs.
Hector Jeter writes, best chapter ever. I ate this chapter up. I ate it up too. And I'm just curious. I'm going to go over and see where that poll is right now. Where are we at? Okay, right now, 1,400 of you guys have now voted on that poll. And right now, you guys are still saying, now 78% of you guys are saying it's the best one yet. 14% of you are saying it's the second best one. 8% are saying it is the third best one. So we'll keep our eye on that as well.
The
Right.
Tom Hardy movie is Fonzo.
Fonzo, thank you. I knew it was a one-word thing. Anyway, Stern Teacher. I like that name. Stern Teacher writes, Iger has masterclass lesson 1 using paramount decrees. Yeah. So, but by the way, for those who don't know what that means, there's this whole the masterclass thing you can take online with a lot of high-profile people teaching different classes. Bob Iger is actually teaching one of the master classes.
Have you ever done one of those master classes? I'm really intrigued by that.
I know,
wonder.
but the first one I want to do, if not Aaron Sorkin's screenwriting, is Daniel Negreanu's poker. I would love to see Kid Poker. Do a good Canadian kid.
There's
by
a
the way.
lot of great. I mean, Martin Scorsese
I want to do
and
the
Ron
Anna
Howard.
Wintour one because I just want to see her just talk.
That's I know.
Anna
And-
Wintour, the editor of Vogue, who is the character that
What's her
Meryl
class?
Streep. It's on leadership, I think,
nice.
and she's the character that Meryl Streep's character in Devil Wears Prada is based on, and she's a very interesting person. So
By the way, I'd buy that streaming service. The masterclass streaming service.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can buy. I mean, it's expensive. You can get for
It's
$100
really
bucks. But you can get an unlimited access to all the masterclasses.
Oh.
But if there was a masterclass channel, sign me up because I would watch
Absolutely.
everything on it.
I can't remember if I mentioned this to you. You know, did I tell you where they shot that?
Yeah, you said at the old building.
Yeah, when the studio Rob and I used to shoot the John Campea Show in last year, they shot right underneath us. They literally shot in the floor underneath us in that building, which I thought was
I
really
might
fun.
binge that over the holidays.
But like with you,
learn
Aaron,
a bunch of stuff.
Anna Wintour, I would watch that.
Oh,
I mean,
for sure.
how awesome would that
She's
be?
so fascinating as a human.
Totally.
All right, Benny95 writes, hey, John, thank you for clarifying your timestamp comment. Oh, no problem with that. I took it wrong, so my bad. My dad did
My day.
My day did improve, thanks to you, and I hope yours has been great so far. I saw the number 2 episode of Mando again, but this time with my family, and they loved it. So excited for episode 3. About to watch. Hope you enjoyed it. God bless May 22. Well, I'll tell you what. One of the things that makes my heart really happy is that Anne has just eaten this show up. I mean, her whole life right now is about Baby Yoda. That's just everything is Baby Yoda all day, every day, 24/7. But it is great. I haven't had a chance to ask you, Aaron. Has Tom watched The Mandalorian yet?
He watched the first episode and then he fell asleep when I was watching the second episode before we talked about it. So he's going to be binging. He's currently filming Grummy with.
That's right. He's filming right now.
He has been working very hard. He had a really rough day on set yesterday. I mean, a good day, but his character is really dark and has to go to some bad places.
All right, next up, James Lockman writes, just finished episode 3, talking about The Mandalorian, I assume. Loved it. I'm loving the old style Western modern theme music. It fits so well, and I love the concept artwork during the end credits. I am telling you what, that has become I actually look forward to the end of the episode
too,
now
dude.
just to see that art.
Yeah, it's really good. Who's the artist? Do
I
we
was
know?
about to ask. I don't know. I thought if anybody out of the three of us, Rob, would know.
I
it would
don't
be
know.
you.
I mean,
Is it Ray? I feel
Is
like
it
it's Ray.
Ray?
I feel like it's Ray. I think
I
it's
can't
Ray,
wait
but Ray would never tell anybody.
The
No,
Art
you
of the
wouldn't.
Mandalorian book. I can't wait for that because I love my Art of Star Wars books.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next up here. James Lockman also writes, one of two. Going to watch an advanced screening of Knives Out tomorrow. I'm going tonight. Very excited. I can't wait. I saw Jojo Rabbit and I loved it. I thought Thomas McKenzie, the actress who played Elsa, did a wonderful job. Going to watch it a couple more times and also watch Ford v Ferrari and 21 Bridges. Yeah. Ooh, 21 Bridges is not getting such a good reception. Listen, Jojo Rabbit, everybody, look, a lot of people, rightfully so, are talking about ScarJo in this. And she's, make no mistake, she's wonderful in it. But this kid who plays Jojo, if this kid doesn't make you buy into him and get attached to him, this movie won't work. And you had to know that just from the screenplay. Like, this all hinges, all this stuff only works if we get this part right. And they got this, the kid who played Jojo, oh my God. It was just so perfect. And then the girl living in the walls, also so perfect. And then their dynamic between these two young actors was palatable. I mean, it was so great. And I don't think either of you have seen Jojo Rabbit yet, have you? Oh my God, it's the best movie of the year, guys. So far. It's the best movie of the year. And I just eat it up, and I'm glad you've enjoyed it on that level as well, James. All right. Next up, a fan of Peanuts writes, Mando Episode 3 was incredible. I can't believe this. 9 out of 10. I agree. The music from it is getting better and better each time. I agree. I think the music's getting even better. And we still get 5 more. Hope the final episode is an hour. I do believe the final episode, like the first episode was a little bit longer. I believe the second episode, or the final episode, maybe not a full hour, but I think it'll be longer as well. We have to wait till next Tuesday for Mandalorian 3 talk. No, Ann and I are going to do a spoiler talk this evening at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But then, yes, you'll hear me and Christian go even deeper into it on Dark Side, Light Side on Tuesday. Oh, actually, I should announce this. Christian cannot do Dark Side, Light Side this Tuesday.
What?
He's got something that he's got to do, and so he won't be able to do this coming Tuesday's episode. But Star Wars fans, never fear, because the director of Fanboys, my friend Kyle Newman, is actually going to come in and do Dark Side, Light Side with me on Tuesday. And I think he's bringing along another special guest, which I won't talk about right now, but I think he's going to bring along another special guest. So, yes, we will talk all things Mandalorian as well on Tuesday in depth, but tonight we're going to be doing our spoiler talk. Peanuts continues. I heard Julia Roberts was supposed to play the Mandalorian.
She is. That's why the Mandalorian hasn't taken off his helmet.
Right.
Did you not know that was Julia Roberts? What Mandalorian episode rank order? Mine so far 3, 2, 1. I agree. For me so far it's 3, 2, 1. I know you haven't seen the third one yet, Aaron.
Right.
How would you rank the first two?
I would say 1, 2.
You would go 1, 2. Rob?
I really love the reveal of Baby Yoda. Like
that was a great moment.
And although in 2 we see all of Baby Yoda, I really, although there were those little ding, ding, those little things.
Jawas. Ding ding.
Well, because you have to understand, every single thing that I see in The Mandalorian, I'm like, oh, that's a Spaceballs reference. And then Tom's like, no, it's not
Ding,
a
ding,
Spaceball.
ding, ding, ding.
I'm like, yeah, they go ding, 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 ding. And he's like, no, they don't go ding, ding. No. So he's very frustrated with me and my commentary of The Mandalorian. He's like, are you...
Rob, how would you do it?
I'd definitely go 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I go
because,
3.
like, the end of this episode, I'm not going to say what it is, but you can't not be a lifelong Star Wars fan and get a real kick out of what happens at the end of this episode.
I agree. All right, let's keep moving here. Russell Amador writes, over under 60, that Godzilla versus Kong is a last-minute delay. I look, as we were talking about earlier, possibility. I'm not going to go as high as 60%, though. Right now, I would put it around, I would go as high as a good 30%. I think there's a 30% chance, almost 1 out of 3, that we see this thing get delayed. Rob, if you had to say there was an odds on it, where would you put it?
I'm going with you on that one, because I think
Around
there's
30?
a chance. Yeah.
Aaron?
When's it supposed to be released?
Early March. So about 3.5, a little over 3.5 months away.
I think it's fine. I think it's going to be early March.
All right, so you're going to go low on that.
I'm going to go low.
All right, next up, Brandon Blake writes, Anyone still think The Mandalorian isn't a badass? LOL, man, I love this show. Next Friday is so far away. Well, we can't go into the reasons for those many of you who still haven't seen this episode yet. But I agree, Brandon. I personally agree. Winso writes, Mando's voice is Captain Mal Reynolds. I have spoken. I can tell you for certain that it is not... why am I freezing?
Pedro Pascal?
No, not Pedro Pascal. The guy who plays Mal on Firefly. And he's on The Rookie right now.
Nathan Fillion?
Nathan Fillion. Why did I freeze Nathan Fillion's name? Yeah, I can 100% assure you it's not Nathan Fillion. But now that you mention it, it doesn't sound all that far off.
Also sounds kind of like Tom Cruise. I kept getting
You think so? Really?
I kept getting a Tom Cruise vibe.
Oh, okay. I
just
wouldn't
don't
have
understand. Why would you cast someone as beautiful as Pedro Pascal when he never takes his helmet off? Is he going to take that whole suit off at some point? Because otherwise, I don't know if I'm going to continue this.
You know what? I'm starting to think that I used to say I think he will, but after this episode, which you haven't seen yet.
Well, they say in the first episode they never take their helmets off.
Yeah, well, that's a Mandalorian thing.
Right. And I'm like, but then
I'm starting to think.
But then how do we even know it is? I don't think that it's even Pedro Pascal at all.
Oh, it is. Oh, it's him. That's definitely him.
Is it though?
Yeah.
Is it though? I just love how I just love how, despite the fact that his helmet never changes, I'm like, oh, he's sad. Oh, he's feeling empathy.
How
just
can
because
you I know.
it's
how
so
does he
crazy.
make
I
you
don't know how they
feel
do it. I don't know how they do it.
It's so good. All right, a fan of Peanuts writes, the best thing I've seen on Disney Plus outside of The Mandalorian is Gordon Ramsay's Uncharted.
What?
I'm not, what? Brilliant, absolutely must if you love food and adventure. I didn't even know Gordon Ramsay had something on there.
I didn't either.
Okay, interesting to know.
It's also really interesting that like Gordon Ramsay, Uncharted, Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations. Gordon, come up with something that's a little less.
Well, I mean, Gordon was doing this before Anthony Bourdain was, though.
Oh, he was? He was doing Uncharted?
No, not Uncharted, but he was doing like kind of the going around to places. I mean, it's all the evolution of the same.
Oh, I thought he was just going
model.
in and yelling at other chefs.
Well, yeah, we've seen a lot of that, but I think all of this has just been a slight evolutions of the same basic principle. It's going to different places and trying the food, and there's different ways you could do that and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But Bourdain's was special. But man, and another offshoot of that is the Jeff Goldblum show, which I'm watching the ice cream episode.
But see, maybe this is what people are talking about when they're saying that Disney Plus isn't advertising, because this is the first we're hearing about this Gordon Ramsay show.
I did not know. Is this an old show?
But I
Is this
do
a new
love
show?
adventure and
heard of it.
food, so I will check it
For all
out.
I know, maybe Fan Peanuts is just joking about it. Ismail Ito writes, Francis Ford Coppola on comic book films. Master Scorsese, there are too many of them. What are we going to do? That is, of course, a reference line to the prequel. Master Anakin, there's too many of them. What are we going to do? I'm going to kill you, kid. Okay. So that's basically it. Eric Silva Gomez writes, it took 3 episodes, but I am now sold on The Mandalorian. Dude, first of all, I was hooked on episode 1. I didn't completely love episode 1, but I liked it very, very much and made me hungry for the rest. Evil John Campea writes, have you seen this Call of the Wild trailer? Yeah, I haven't talked about it yet. Starring Harrison Ford. CG dog? It looks great. Oh, and also Star Wars prequels are the best Star Wars films. Haha, Evil John Campea struck again. All right, I guess we should at least bring this up.
I watched that trailer.
There's this new trailer. It's a new Harrison Ford movie called Call of the Wild, and it's another dog movie.
Based on an old book.
Yeah, and I love dogs. Love dog movies. I'm a dog guy. Love dog movies, all that kind of stuff. But I was immediately put off because it is so clearly a CGI dog. And I'm like, really? I was just instantly turned off. It's like, okay, if there are moments in the movie where you need to use a CGI dog to CGI the dog because you're not going to really throw the dog off a glacier or something like that, I get that. But even the dog sitting looking up at Harrison whimsically, we've seen that done before. And I'm just, look, for all I know, this is going to be my all-time favorite movie. I don't know. But I will just say the trailer completely turned me off. As soon as I picked up, and it was real quick, that they're using a CGI dog for it. The whole idea about these movies is that because we love dogs and we love seeing the dog, and it's not even a real dog. And I don't know. I was turned off by it. Rob, what do you think of it?
Dude, when I started the trailer, I'm waiting for the dog to talk.
Yeah.
Like have a human voice. I'm just like, when are they gonna, like, I understand
If
this
you're going to have a CGI dog.
Yeah, you're gonna have a CGI dog. I'm like, when are they gonna start talking to each other? And they didn't. And I was confused at the end. I'm like, well, this looks like it's a beautifully made film. Harrison Ford looks like he's invested. But I was confused. I'm like, how do you have a CGI dog and he doesn't talk? Because I don't believe what I'm watching if otherwise.
Maybe it's a shared universe with Witch, and it's actually Black Tom. Maybe
Black Phillip.
Black Phillip, sorry. Maybe it's Black Tom.
But
of course,
it's so weird because we're so conditioned when you have CGI animals that they're going to speak, and when it's supposed to be a real dog that's CGI, no verisimilitude for me there.
Have you seen the trailer, Aaron?
I have not, but fun fact, did you know that oftentimes when a dog is playing like a mean dog or a bad dog, they have to actually CGI their tail out and replace their tail because the dog who's acting, their tails wag so much when they're doing a good job that they have to literally CGI out their wagging tail because they're like, no, mean dogs don't have wagging tails. But the dogs are so happy that they're doing a good job and that they're getting to act and play that they can't stop wagging their tails.
Can we start a Sonic the Hedgehog campaign to get the dog to actually speak?
Get the
so
dog
they can
to talk.
They can redo all the CG.
By the way, quick little side note on that. And I can't remember if I've mentioned this before. So Aaron was in a movie of mine.
The Anniversary.
The Anniversary.
Which you have an award up on your wall for.
Which I do have an award up there for. But despite the fact that I had the great Aaron Cummings in my movie, Aaron, I gotta say, I don't know if it's not even appropriate to talk about this really. You were not the highest paid actress in my movie. You were not the highest paid performer in my movie. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have even told you that. But and it wasn't Julia.
You were paying people to be. This is
call SAG. Call SAG.
I signed the SAG low to no budget deal. I paid SAG minimums. I think I paid $100 a day or whatever.
ULB, ultra low budget. Yep.
So you weren't the highest paid performer. Julia wasn't the highest paid performer. Manolis wasn't the highest paid performer. The highest paid performer in my movie by far was the dog.
Oh yeah.
The dog was literally the highest paid. I needed a 3-legged dog in my thing, and so we found this company that trains and has animals for television and movies, and we needed specifically a 3-legged dog. And whereas I was paying my actors $100 a day, I had to pay like $400 or $500 for the day to have this dog on set with their trailer.
You got off cheap then.
Yeah, and I think I got a deal because I think I got the half day.
Because that bitch that got my Joey's part on Dynasty, I made Joey a demo reel and everything. And
Joey's your dog, of course.
Joey is my dog. I'm going to post her demo reel on Twitter today after the show because you guys have to watch it. So this other bitch got the job because the writer really wanted a French bulldog, and they not only had to pay the dog or the dog's owner, but they also had 2 trainers, and the dog still couldn't take direction. So
remember? No, you weren't in the scene with our dog, were you? No. Oh, God.
I don't remember a 3-legged dog. I would remember
dog.
That.
It was mostly in the main scenes. Anyway, the dog was great.
Really?
Oh my God, we all loved this dog. It was so sweet and so nice and did everything perfectly. But yeah, it was an
When I was doing the Iceman,
dog.
they had this white fluffy Persian cat named Cinderella, and all the cat had to do was like walk across, and they had the camera in the car behind Michael Shannon so that Michael Shannon looks over to see the cat walking across, and they had all these handlers and they're like ringing bells and doing all this stuff, and Michael Shannon's in the car and he's like banging on the window. He's like, this fucking cat is fucking up my take. I mean, the whole day was like, Cinderella's like, I'm not walking anywhere. Fuck y'all.
That's when you do CGI.
Yeah.
That's when you do CGI.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you named her Cinderella. What did you expect?
All right, guys, and listen, it is already 10:30, so it is time for us to bid adieu to Aaron and Robert as they've got things they've got to do. Robert, first of all, man, excellent week of shows here with you.
Fascinating. You know what? I was captivated how much I learned doing these shows this week.
Yeah, it was a great week.
Really
anyway,
good week.
Rob, where can people find you and your exploits online?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, or the adjacent website, theburnettwork.net.
And of course, also joining us yesterday and today, went to the movies with me last night. Aaron Cummings is here. Aaron, where can people find you and your adventures online?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Aaron L. Cummings, or listen to my podcast, Kappa Kappa Cancer, your guide to the sorority you never wanted to join. And also another little reminder that next Friday, as you are feasting on leftover turkey, make sure you watch me on Dynasty. I will be opening the episode. It's on the CW. That is next Friday, November 29th. And it is a really fun episode, and I have lots and lots of words to say.
Actually, quick question.
Yes.
Because you know me. Do we yet know when Lucifer is there? Have they announced that when Lucifer the next
will be
final season?
the last season will be coming out? I don't know. However, I will text my very dear friend Leslie Ann Brandt, who, by the way, I'm going to give her a little
plays
plug.
Maze.
She plays Maze, and she was my co-star on Spartacus. And she is one of my best friends. She also, if you guys don't have the Calm app, you should download it. It has wonderful meditations. She's now doing a sleep story about her home country of South Africa, and I listened to it during acupuncture a few days ago, and it was wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And for the rest of us, we still have about a half hour to go. So let's keep on going through your questions. Or as Aaron would say, let's go balls out, and shove them right down your throat. That's something. Balls out and go right down your throat. I think that's what you said a little bit.
Drive down your throat.
All right. Next up comes to us from Seal writes, some rumors say that Comic-Con Experience Brazil will debut a trailer, but that's cutting real close with the release date for Godzilla vs. Kong. By the way, I've got to go to Comic-Con Brazil at some point because it's supposed to be a great lineup. I haven't personally heard anything about them doing that, but hey, maybe it will. And maybe that'll settle this whole issue. Man, I got to get to that Brazil Comic-Con sometime because every year it just looks better and better and better. Johnny 5 writes, edge of my seat, dude. Mandalorian episode 3 was great. I loved it. I'm so glad so many of you guys did too. Tyler Yeats writes, I'd love to see a No Time to Die trailer at Knives Out tonight. Ooh, well, you know, tonight's a special fan screening, so I'm not sure if they're going to show trailers. But wouldn't it be appropriate? Like, because Daniel Craig, wouldn't it be appropriate to make tonight when they debut the new James Bond trailer? That would seem to make sense. I don't know. I'll let you guys know if they do that or not. All right. The Nocturnal Disney Podcast writes, guys, I saw Frozen 2 last night. There were a couple of logic problems, but overall it was great. Way funnier than I thought. I agree. It was a much funnier movie than I thought it would be. I was really entertained by it. Now, is it in my top 5 movies of the year? No, but I was thoroughly entertained by it. I thought, even though there's no one song that's as good as Let It Go from the original, I thought overall the music in this one was better. I really did. I thought there were more laughs, and I really enjoyed this one. Anyway, The Nerdy Hatter writes, damn you, Rob, what you've done. You've spoke about them, and now I can't stop buying Criterion DVDs. As a lover of features, they're irresistible, and they are great. If you really like that stuff, follow Nerdy Hatter's example, because they have some really good stuff. And again, do it before, physical media goes the way of the dinosaur. Gisberto Guzzo writes, 48 hours later, and The Irishman continues to haunt my thoughts. It makes you question so much in your life. It's a much more mature and subtle than Scorsese's other work, with fewer laughs, but has a lot of plot, action, and moves quickly. Watch it in one sitting if you can. I'm certain it will reward multiple viewings, but I'm glad I saw it in theaters first. Epic film, A+. And thank you for sending in such a large super chat, Gisberto, for supporting the channel on that level. We appreciate that. And listen, we've been hearing amazing things about it. Like I had one person, I believe, yesterday write in to say that they didn't really enjoy The Irishman. And film's subjective. Not everybody's going to like every movie, but I'm telling you, most of what I've been hearing, and I'm waiting to watch it on Netflix. I'm not going to go to the theater to watch it. I'm going to wait to watch it on Netflix. But most of what I'm hearing is kind of what you've been saying, Gisberto, is that it is absolutely wonderful. Now, most people I've talked to that have seen it that really love it are also saying they feel that it didn't need to be as long as it is, but it is. So whatever. But I'm getting really excited to see it, man. And I'm glad you enjoyed it on that level. And thank you for sharing your thoughts on that, dude. We appreciate it. All right. Nerdy Hatter writes, big thank you for mentioning the Barnes & Noble 50% off sale too, because that was definitely a big help. I got Dr. Strangelove, Y2 Mama Tabien, Breakfast Club. Listen, it's great because we're getting these sales. That, again, one of the good things about the kind of demise of physical media is that you can find a lot of really good deals going around right now. And now is definitely the time to take advantage of those things and start adding to your collection while you can. Andrew at the Movies writes, John, if I rebooted the DCEU, I'd kick the door open with an insane Justice League film. This would be a launch pad to see how people will respond to the characters, but also get everybody's attention. And listen, Andrew, I am 1000% with you. I really felt, and I wish they had, and it was their plan at one time, to start the DCEU with a full-blown Justice League movie. And there was a script that actually came out a while ago and started making its way around that came out that was going to be what their premise was. And a lot of people were like, but that's not the Marvel way. It doesn't matter. I thought you could have done it the opposite way. It's not about whether you do individual movies first and then do a team up. It's not about that. It's about, do you make a good movie? That's all that matters. Is the movie good? You see, the reason some people still hold on to this myth, the reason the DCEU has not had the same success as the MCU is not because, well, they didn't do enough standalone films first to establish the universe. And no, it has nothing to do with that. Nothing. It has everything to do with the fact that Man of Steel came out, and despite the fact that I know it's a brilliant effing movie, a lot of people just didn't like it. That's it. That's it. It's about making movies people like. It's not about follow the formula of 7 standalone films and then a team. It has nothing to do with the effing formula. It's about making good movies that people like. And if you make good movies that people like, it doesn't matter what formula you follow. None of that matters. None of it matters. And if people had appreciated Man of Steel the way it deserves to be appreciated, if people had en masse loved, and because they made a great Batman versus Superman and everybody loved it, and if they did the same thing with Justice League and Suicide Squad and all that, then the formula doesn't matter. It's all about just making good movies. And that's why I agree, Andrew. I think a really good way would have been to do the opposite of what Marvel did. Come out blazing with a big Justice League movie. That way you get, not only do you got Batman and Superman there, but now you're introducing the audience, because a lot of the audience don't read the comics, so you're introducing to your Aquaman, to your Flash, to all that kind of stuff. It could have been really, really great. And it could have been a disaster as well. But if you made that movie all that matters is if you made it great. That's the key. Because you could have done it and it could have been an utter disaster if the movie's no good. Winning cures everything, and I always thought that would have been a great approach for them to take, really. I really, really do. But they didn't, and you know what? And it still would have worked if they just made every movie that people loved. But it is what it is. All right, Slim Trav writes, worst rock film, Witch Mountain, Tooth Fairy, Journey to, Baywatch, Scorpion King, Southland Tales, Game Plan, Be Cool, or Doom. There's one or two in there that I actually don't think are all that bad, but I've got to go Baywatch. Because in almost all those other movies, there's some redeeming elements in a lot of these other movies. Baywatch had none. And I love The Rock. And I love Zac Efron. I think Zac Efron's a great actor. I really do. I think he's a great performer. Doesn't always make the best choices, but I think he's a great performer. And that movie is utter garbage. Utter garbage. It would have been like the 6th movie in my life that I would have walked out of, except I was actually watching the movie on the Paramount lot. Paramount actually invited me to the Paramount lot, and I went to their special screening room in the Paramount lot, and there was a bunch of us there watching the movie, and my buddy who works at Paramount, who's a great guy, a buddy of mine who works at Paramount, was literally sitting right across the aisle from me. And I swear to God, had he not been sitting there and it would have been really awkward, I swear I would have got up and walked out of that movie. So I got to go Baywatch. And I was really hoping that movie would be good too. Anyway. All right. Andrew at the Movies writes, my brother overheard Robert's voice the other day and thought I was listening to John Cena. Really? I've never, I'm going to have to go back later and play some clips of Robert and then play some clips of John Cena and see if there's actually something there. That's going to be really funny if it's true. I hadn't even thought about that, but that's interesting. All right, Gisberto Guzzo writes, Shia is having a massive year with Honey Boy and The Peanut Butter Falcon, the latter of which is my second favorite movie of 2019. Have you seen either, and what are your thoughts on him as an actor? Well, listen, I've been very, very clear on what my thoughts on Shia LaBeouf are as an actor. He's extraordinary. He's absolutely extraordinary. He's 3 biscuits short of a pack, and he's a little bit of a nut job, but he's an extraordinary actor. I've always thought so. I continue to think so. He's great. The only 2 movies for this entire year that I am behind on are those 2 films. Honey Boy, which, by the way, was also playing last night in the same theater that I went to go see Queen and Slim, but it was an advanced screening for Queen, so I went to Queen and Slim. But it's funny because we ran into a couple of people that Aaron knew as we came out of the theater who had just come out of seeing Honey Boy, and they loved it. And I'm hearing nothing but great things about Honey Boy and Peanut Butter Falcon, but those are the only 2 films that I am behind on this year, and I got to make sure I watch them both before the end of the year. But yeah, I think Shia LaBeouf is a unique talent, man. I think he's just incredible. All right, Mickey Altieri writes, seeing Knives Out tonight with my friend, me too, buddy, with my friend who doesn't want to see it simply because it's a Rian Johnson film, but I strong-armed him into come, so we'll see how it goes because he didn't always dislike Rian Johnson. I mean, here's the thing. This is the thing that it makes, to me, is hilarious. Look, even Steven Spielberg, who is the greatest filmmaker of all time, has had bad days at the office. He's had a few bad days at the office. Not many, but whatever. Rian Johnson, there are some people who don't like Star Wars The Last Jedi, which is perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with not liking a movie. Lots of movies I don't like. Lots of movies you don't like. But it's like they completely forgot, or people try to, what really makes me laugh is when people try to rewrite history. Looper wasn't all that good. Oh, no, it was. Looper was that good. And it was that good, but you're just trying to rewrite history now because you didn't like what he did with Star Wars. Brick wasn't all that good. Yes, it was. And very well it's that good. I mean, they're subjective films just like anything else. Rian Johnson is a great director. Now, you may have really enjoyed what he did with The Last Jedi. Maybe you didn't like the decisions he made with The Last Jedi. That's fine. But he is a remarkable director. And he's getting Oscar buzz right now for Knives Out. So I'm going to go see it tonight. Maybe it'll be really good. Maybe it'll be fantastic. Maybe it'll be all right. Maybe it'll be bad. I don't know. But I am very excited about going to check it out. I'm very, very excited about going to check it out. All right. Sebastian Trillo writes, happy Friday. I haven't seen the trailer for the movie The Mandela Effect, releasing on December 6th. Looks interesting to me. Don't know if it's a wide release. I didn't think it was a wide release. Hold on a second. Where the hell? There it is. The Mandela Effect. I thought it wasn't supposed to be a wide release. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, I don't think it is. Again, I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure it's a more limited release. I think. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. So I think you're right about that. Let's see. Nick Gurula writes, The Mandalorian Episode 3, holy crap, smile ear to ear. And I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. I was on that damn treadmill today watching it, and I'm sure I made people around me think I was, because I got those Bose noise canceling headset, so I'm just listening to it. And if all the people who were around me, they probably thought I was some weirdo. I'm like, yeah! Ha ha ha! Oh my God, that's adorable. Yeah, yeah! This is the way. So they were, and I'm oblivious because I can't even hear anything else going on around me. They probably thought I was some kind of stranger, some kind of weirdo. I mean, Rafael El Guapo Castillo writes, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I was not expecting the emotional gut punch this film gave me. It made me think of my life and forgiveness, seemingly simple yet incredibly profound. Dude, I cannot wait to watch this movie. I cannot wait. Well, first of all, because of last year, the Mr. Rogers documentary, which is one of the most profoundly moving and powerful documentaries I have ever seen. Right on the heels of that, they announced that Tom Hanks, one of the greatest human beings alive, is starring as Mr. Rogers. I mean, what's there not to be excited about? So I have clearly not seen it yet myself. I haven't had the opportunity yet, but damn, I'm going to. And squee, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this movie. I'm glad you saw it, and it's great to hear that you really enjoyed it too, because now you just made my excitement level get even higher, Raphael. So thank you so much for sharing that, dude. He also writes, Jefe, do you know what a plethora is? Oh, that's Three Amigos. That's Three Amigos. Would you say I have a plethora? Oh, see, you have a plethora. Tell me, do you know what a plethora is? Because I would hate for you to say that I have a plethora if you don't even know what a plethora is. Three Amigos, great scene, fabulous movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. All right, Luke1234 writes, Abe Forsyth may direct RoboCop returns. Yeah, I was hearing some buzz about that. I don't know how much I believe it. I'm not saying the story's a lie. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I just don't know if I buy that it's actually going to come to pass. You know what I mean? But it is interesting. It is interesting. And it's funny because I thought about making that a topic on the show the other day. I thought, I'm so not sure what I think about this. I decided not to make it a topic. But who knows? RoboCop may live yet. All right. Domestic House Cat writes, couldn't Obi-Wan and Maul have a fight in the new Obi-Wan series if they both forgot about it? Oh, that's dumb. That's dumb. Star Wars has tried to do that before. What's the point? It breaks all the canon and breaks all the narrative. Makes no sense. Kind of what happened to Wolverine in Origins. No, because just like everybody went, oh God, seriously? They would do that again with this. Listen, newsflash. You don't need Darth Maul in an Obi-Wan series. You don't need it. If you don't need to have Spider-Man in a Venom movie, and if you don't need to have Batman in a Joker movie, you don't need to have Darth Maul in an Obi-Wan series. Now, don't get me wrong. If what had happened in canon didn't happen, and it was conceivable without breaking canon to have it happen and have it be a part of the story, I'd be all for it too. But when you got to play games with semantics and play fast and loose with canon and say, well, maybe if this ridiculous thing happens and then we have this other ridiculous thing happens, then we've got an excuse just to have them fight. But is that really all we want? We just want Obi-Wan, like we want to get to episode 5 of Obi-Wan, and then all of a sudden out from behind, a rock, "There, it is I, Darth Maul. We will now fight. Jing, jing, jing. Oh, now I got to run away." Is that what we're looking for? Because you can't have him part of the story. Because again, it would completely violate canon that we've had from all the previous stories so far. So I think once we get to the point that we're desperately trying to come up with, what if it was all a dream? What if they don't remember it? Like as soon as we start going into these really desperate modes of desperately just trying to shoehorn something in, that's how bad movies get made. Just let it be organic. Guess what? Maul doesn't confront Obi-Wan outside of the story we already know. So let's tell there's a world of stories to tell with Obi-Wan Kenobi. We don't need it to have Darth Maul. Again, I'm with you. If it wasn't for the fact that canon made it impossible to do, I would have been all for it in theory. But the fact of the matter is the canon lays it out pretty much. Maul and Obi-Wan don't meet again until Obi-Wan kills him in that episode of Rebels. So that's been established. So let's tell other stories. Let's tell other stories. And that's how I'm feeling about Domestic at any rate. All right. Jared's Reviews writes, not sure if you remember me, John, but I was going through some shit and now I am in a better place and your videos helped me through it. Going to do a triple feature of 21 Bridges, Tom Hanks, Knives Out. That sounds like a nice, well, I'm not hearing good things about 21 Bridges. I'll be honest. And you guys know how excited I have been for 21 Bridges. I love Chadwick Boseman. It's the first big film that the Russo brothers, with their production company, made it. Agbo, or whatever the name of their production, they're the main producers of the film. Their first big project outside of the MCU. And I'm not hearing good things about it. And I don't even know if I want to go see it now. I probably will sneak in to go see it at some point because I do love Chadwick Boseman. But yeah, I'm not hearing great things. But everything else, dude, that sounds like a good one. And it's awesome to hear that the film fan community, it's always great when movies and the movie fan community can be there for us to just help get us through some of the darker times we go through. And that's what I love about human storytelling, man. So thanks for sharing that, Jared. I really appreciate that, man. And I'm glad you're in a better place, my friend. All right. A3 writes, just watched episode 3 of Mandalorian. So when is Chow's Kenobi coming out? I know, right? Deborah Chow, who directed this episode. A lot of us have been very excited to get to episode 3. And she's directing one more episode this season as well. I can't remember which episode it is, though. But a lot of us have been very excited to get to episode 3 because Deborah Chow, they had already announced, is going to direct not just one episode, she's directing the whole series, the whole Obi-Wan series. So many of us have been like, oh, let's see what she does in the Star Wars world. If today's episode is anything to gauge by, I think we're all feeling pretty good, man. I think we're all feeling pretty good. All right, Chris Douglas writes, using a VPN to enjoy Disney Plus in the UK, at least I'm paying. That's interesting because one of the problems some other people said they were having in trying to use a VPN to get Disney Plus is that your credit card has to be in the United States. So I'm curious to know how you worked around that little problem. Sad Little King writes, I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but I love The Mandalorian. It's my favorite Star Wars thing yet. Hey, listen, every new generation has new iterations of Star Wars coming out. Hell, there are people who the prequels are their favorite Star Wars thing. Total utter garbage, but guess what? That's to me. To some other people, they saw it, and that's their thing. And I think Mandalorian, for a lot of people, might be the first thing they see Star Wars. The Force Awakens might have been the first Star Wars movie for a lot of other people. That's one of the neat things about Star Wars, man. It is so multi-generational that we have all these different points that it becomes the lynch point for a lot of people at different aspects and at different times. And Mandalorian may be just that, sad little king for a lot of people. So thank you for sharing your experience, my friend. All right, Chris Douglas writes, missed a few shows over the summer. Has Ashley left? No, Ashley... we talked about this ad nauseum. Ashley's just her schedule. This is a great thing. Ashley's schedule just started getting busier and busier with her real career, which is acting. And she couldn't maintain a regular schedule here, unfortunately. She and I still follow each other on social media. She was just commenting on something I did the other day. And I was emailing with her not too long ago. So make sure you guys are following her on social media and follow her career because she's great. Chris Douglas also writes, is it possible to not enjoy a movie but be able to see it as high quality? If so, does this prove that there are objective standards of quality films? No, there's no such thing as objective standards. There's no such thing. None. The only thing that is objective or things that can be scientifically measured is something in focus. There are tools to measure focus. Is a word in the credits spelt correctly? Well, there are tools we can see if it is indeed spelt correctly or not. Is the movie too loud or too quiet? Well, there are actual audio tools we can use to measure the decibel level of audio. Outside of that, it's all subjective, period. Chris Douglas writes, thoughts on the Lifetime/Network series You? I'm not familiar with it, to be honest with you. Ben Davis writes, am I the only one that got strong vibes from Stewie from Family Guy singing Everything I Do It For You by Bryan Adams during Kristoff's song in Frozen 2? All jokes aside, I really dug Frozen 2. Well, I'm not going to go into that. By the way, Ben, Kristoff's song in Frozen 2 is one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. And I don't think it's going to hit for everybody, but oh my God, it hit for me. And Anne almost fell out of her seat laughing at that scene. But I'm not going to go into what that scene is because I'm not going to spoil it. But I just thought that gag was great. I really did. Now, most of you are going to have to wait till you see the movie to know what it is we're talking about, but I thought that gag was great. All right. Thanks for sharing that, Ben. Benjamin Michael writes, ever let a season play out so you can binge the season? I can't stand weekly. I forget what happened prior, not watching Mandalorian till it finishes. I have done that, but very, very rarely have I done that. I actually like week to week. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a big binge guy as well. I'm also very, very much a big binge guy. But the great thing about, again, with Mandalorian, we are getting new people jumping on board because we are talking about Mandalorian week after week after week now, and the buzz just keeps going and building. Listen, if Mandalorian had dropped all of its episodes at once, none of us would be talking about it today. We would have been done talking about it weeks ago. It wouldn't be getting new audiences. We wouldn't have this week after week great conversations about it and all that kind of stuff. And I think my personal viewing preference is binging. But as a fan, my personal experience preference is week after week because of what the experience it gives us as a fan community. that we get to now look forward to and speculate about the next episode. And then the next episode hits and we have a whole new thing to talk about. And then we can look forward and speculate and wonder about where it goes after that. And you don't get that when a show all drops at once. Again, I think my viewing preference is binging, but as a fan, my fan experience preference is week after week. It just has so many advantages. So there have been times when I've been like late to a show and I'm like, oh, really? Everybody's saying this is great. Okay, I'll wait for the last, it's almost done its season. I'll wait for the last 3 episodes to play out. But even then, once I get sold on trying a show, I'll usually just go and start watching it right away. And then get caught up and then start watching week after week once I'm caught up. So, but hey, man, how we all enjoy consuming the content is just as subjective as anything else. And you enjoy it one way. I enjoyed very similarly, but a little bit differently. So, hey, it is what it is. All right. Gary Ritchie writes, I love Jojo Rabbit. Me too, buddy. I was in tears for the last 30 minutes. What do you think the chances are that any of the actors are getting nominated for an Oscar? I think there is a modest chance, not impossible, not tiny, but a modest chance that we could see Scarlett Johansson get a Best Supporting Actress nomination. I also think, although the field is going to be very, very packed, so there is a chance, but a smaller chance, that maybe Sam Rockwell gets a nomination. But the problem, because I thought Sam Rockwell was great in this, the problem is this is really going to be a stacked year in the Best Supporting Actor category. It's going to be a very, very stacked year. So we'll kind of have to wait and see how that plays out. JJ Aguilar writes, unlikely Rise of Skywalker does it. So over under 50%, a film cracks $1 billion domestically this coming decade. If so, any wild guesses? Avengers 5, Avatar, sequels, removed. Oh, no, I'm not even going to bother. JJ, not even going to bother. Listen, whenever he has like over the next decade, oh yeah, some film will crack the $1 billion mark domestically at some point. And it'll probably in the next 10 years. God, listen, the entire movie universe changes like every 4 years, maybe even every 3 years. Like I feels like the game changes every 3 to 4 years. So over the next decade, yeah, as far as what would be, no guesses whatsoever. Let's see. JJ Aguilera writes, do you think Gronk comes back for the playoffs? You know what? I was thinking for a while he does. But then I saw him again recently, and he's about 40 pounds lighter than he used to be. He doesn't have that Hulk-like physique that he used to have that made him Gronk. So I used to think yes, but now I'm thinking no. Inventory writes, thoughts on Google Stadia? Tried to tell you, John. Well, I haven't played it yet. I'm seeing some really good reviews of Google Stadia, and I'm seeing some lukewarm reviews of Google Stadia. So we will see. It's a brand new technology. The way they're using the technology is a really brand new thing. It's really ingenious what they're trying to do, but it's not really fulfilling the promise from the reviews. Again, I've seen a number of reviews that really, really like it. Some, the thing is, it's all right. But they all have a couple of issues that don't seem to fulfill the promise of what it was. So we'll have to wait and see. I haven't tried it yet, though, so I can't speak to it firsthand. Ariel Sandoval writes, in Fallen Order, once you find and unlock the shortcut doors, you can run back to prior save points, then take the shortcut point to continue. I did not know that, because I've only gotten so far into it. And I am going to play in chat. Me playing playing Jedi Fallen Order with this damn accursed thing. And I have played it for a bit. So what I've done is I've gotten 1 or 2 hours into the game. And what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to play in chat, but I'm just going to start over from the beginning. Just because I'm going to start the game out. Might as well start from the beginning again. Let's see here. David Radcliffe writes, hey, John. This isn't a film-related question, but I know you're a sports fan. Will you be watching AJ versus Ruiz on December 7th? If so, who's your money on? I probably won't. I'm not a big boxing fan. I mean, I'll watch whenever Manny Pacquiao is fighting or something along those lines. I watched Triple G versus Canelo. By the way, Triple G won both those. That's the other thing that turns me off about boxing. Triple G clearly won both of those fights. and they called the first fight a draw, which was a joke. And then they gave the second fight to Canelo, which was ridiculous, but whatever. The Ruiz story, though, is interesting. This little guy came out of nowhere and suddenly the heavyweight champion of the world. But I'll be honest with you, I probably won't be one. Unless Ray is over. Because if Ray is here, Ray is a big boxing fan, and he'll probably pop it on my TV, so maybe I will. Who knows? MM writes, have you seen Man-Thing? I want him in the MCU. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I have, and I'm just freezing out, but I don't think I have. Double Crit writes, 21 Bridges is 35% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yikes. Guess they needed 22. And listen, this is going to bring up the question again. And I love the Russo brothers. I've had them come on my studio multiple times and come do interviews with me, and I love these guys. I think they're great, and I love what they've done in the MCU. But fairly or unfairly, it's going to start raising the question again of who are the Russo brothers when Kevin Feige isn't there to hold their hand. Because this is the first big movie Agbo, their production company, that they're the main producers, have put out, and apparently it's not very good. So one film is one film. Let's not overreact too much. But it's going to raise some questions. But so what can they do when they're not in the MCU? What can they do when they don't have Kevin Feige watching over their shoulders? What are they without the MCU? And we're going to find out. Now, I haven't seen 21 Bridges yet. Maybe to me it'll be the best movie of the year. I don't know yet. But it's going to be interesting to see. All right. Mr. Golfwang 969 writes, still can't get enough of Clark's first flight scene. Oh, my God. The first flight scene in Man of Steel reminds me of the great tank scene in Iron Man. I think I love Clark's even more. I do. Listen, first of all, Man of Steel is just a movie that is filled with brilliant moment after brilliant moment after brilliant moment. I love this movie. And the first flight scene, forget about it. It's so freaking good, man. I take that one. I hear where you're coming from, Wolfwang, but I got to take that one for sure. All right. Adam Frasher writes, hey guys, have you read Matt Fraction's Jimmy Olsen book at DC? I have not. It's hilarious. And now I want to see a Jimmy Olsen TV show on DC Universe. I have not. I haven't heard Robert talk about it. Robert might have, but I haven't heard him talk about it either. So I'm going to guess he hasn't at this point, but that sounds interesting. Jimmy Olsen's always been an interesting character that you could do a lot of cool things with, but they very rarely have. KM writes, Coldplay fan Rob, did you see CP live stream? I didn't even know they did that. I like Coldplay's music, but I didn't know they had a live stream. I'll have to check that out though, because I know Anne, my wife, really quite likes Coldplay. Carlos Sosa writes, hey John, you mentioned that there weren't any character posters for Luke or Sidious, but they may release them after the movie comes out. Thoughts? Oh yeah. They totally could. Look, we're speculating, and we have nothing to base this on. It's just pure speculation. Speculating that maybe the reason they haven't shown us the Emperor or Luke is because something about their physical appearance gives some major surprise away. Maybe it's Luke in the flesh. Maybe Palpatine is a Palpatine Force ghost. Who knows? I'm not saying it's either one of those things. I'm just saying it could be something. But just like Warner Brothers didn't have Superman in any of the Justice League posters, which was a stupid marketing decision, they put him in the posters after the movie came out. So yes, I think you are absolutely right, Carlos. I expect to see Luke and Palpatine in marketing after the movie opens. Probably a week after the movie opens and they start doing their secondary marketing push. I think at that point, you'll probably see some of that stuff in there. All right. Sam W. writes, hey guys, Rob, I just watched you versus Dagnino match again last night. A great train wreck. The best Schmodown match ever. 7-5. That has to be a record. I know the match you're talking about. Yeah. That is one of the classics. By the way, just want to point out that Robert and I, when we were a team, on Schmodown, we are undefeated. Just wanted to point that out, that Robert and I were undefeated as a team. We only had one match together, but we beat, who do we compete against? It was, why am I freezing on who it was that we competed against? I can't remember now. I'm freezing on it. But I remember me and Robert won. Anyway, Benjamin GL writes, honestly, they should have gone with Apple approach and launched first 3 episodes day 1. Actually, if you trim the fat of episode 1s, these first 3 episodes, they may make a good pilot. Bad pacing, yet amazing. I disagree. I like the way they did it. I mean, Apple, I think that was a very creative thing for Apple to do as well, as kind of their... how do we differentiate ourselves from everybody else? Okay, I know we don't drop the whole season, but we don't just drop the first episode. We'll drop the first 3 episodes and then go week to week. I think that's a very interesting thing for Apple to do, but I don't necessarily think that means everybody else should have done it. I like what Disney's doing with it, personally, but that's just me. But you highlight here, Benjamin, again, that we have these services that are trying to find creative ways that differentiate how they operate from the other major players in streaming. I think the Apple way was kind of a creative thing to do. I applaud. That doesn't mean I think anybody else should do it, but I applaud the way they kind of took that approach. Good observation, man. All right. Jose J.G. Gonzalez writes, this is random, but the Long Kiss Goodnight movie ages very well. I really like the Long Kiss Goodnight. Please, more movies like this. Thank you, John and crew. Keep up the good work. Boom. Listen, I actually really like that movie. I've brought up the Long Kiss Goodnight a number of times on this show, and I do think that is an underrated thing. You know what? It reminds me of something. I started maybe a year and a half ago. I started doing, and I can't remember what I called them. I started doing a series of videos, pre-recorded videos, and it was something along the lines of movies you need to see. And they were all about every episode, and they were just short, like 5-minute videos, but it was, here's an older movie that you need to see. And I remember one of them was like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels was one of the episodes that I did. I did it for 2 or 3 of them, but they didn't get the traction that I thought they would. I mean, only like 3,000 or 4,000 people watched each video. And I don't know, maybe if I did it, maybe if I started up again, now that the channel's a bit bigger and we have more viewers, maybe it'll catch on more. I don't know, but I've thought about it more and more because I've always liked that idea. And Long Kiss Goodnight would definitely be a great candidate for something like that. So anyway, thanks for bringing that up, man. All right. Adam Langevin writes, as for Geeky Gator's question, HBO shows have a preview for next week's episode after this week's. That's true. They do. After this week's and before other shows on HBO. Should Disney Plus do this? I do like that idea. Yeah. So when you watch an HBO episode, once it's finished, it'll do a little next time and they give you a little preview. It's next time. That's a really nice little marketing thing. Now, the argument against that, I suppose, is, hey, if somebody's watching The Mandalorian already, they're already on The Mandalorian. You don't need to sell them on it. But still, I think it's a nice idea, Adam. I think that's a really good idea. Ben Rayner writes, the 1960s Babes in Toyland is Disney, but the 1980s Keanu Reeves and Drew Barrymore Babes in Toyland isn't Disney. By the way, so trippy and weird classic film. That's some good information there, but I wish we'd gotten that a little bit earlier when we were talking about it. Still can't believe I got that confused with the Ebert movie at the same time. Anyway, thanks for sharing that, Ben. Good information. All right. Trip Mac writes, is there an official airtime for The Mandalorian? I don't know. I've not heard. I just know what day it comes out. I mean, they come out for the rest of the season, they come out on Fridays, and then the final episode will come out on a Wednesday, I believe. But for all the next number of episodes are all coming out on Fridays. But an actual time, no, I haven't heard. Maybe there is. I just haven't heard myself. JJ Aguilera writes, sends in a really large super chat. Thank you for that, JJ, for supporting the channel on this level, man. All right, Disney/Favreau couldn't even keep Iron Man dead till the end of the year. Missiles, flamethrowers, jetpacks, making armor in a cave, and having his business partner betraying him. Just kidding. This is the way. Well, listen, unfortunately, dude, I cannot comment on any of the stuff that you just said because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody in the movie, except to tell you, JJ, that believe me when I tell you, the exact same thoughts went through my head. I can't comment on it any further, again, because I don't want to risk spoilers for anybody, but believe me, your mind and mine, man. I was thinking the exact same bloody thing. All right. Last couple of questions here, guys, and then we got to call it a day. Where do we end off here? Okay. We are going now to Edgarm12, who writes, hey guys, the other day I had to stop watching The Weekly Hero and go listen to the soundtrack of that scene because you guys were talking about my favorite scene from Batman vs. Superman in a super excited way. Dude, I'm telling you, man, I love, like, you all know I love Man of Steel, but I also love the music. I love the music. I got 3 or 4 pieces of music that I will listen to, a different one each day, and then just rotate it when I get in the shower in the mornings before I do my show to get me pumped up. And one of those pieces of music is What Are You Going to Do When You're Not Saving the World by Hans Zimmer from Man of Steel. I listen to that and I'm ready for the day, man. I hear that music and I am ready to go. And yeah, there have been times that I've been working and I just go, and I just go over to YouTube and pop up one of the pieces from Man of Steel just because I love listening to the music from it. So I'm glad you caught on to that as well too, my friend. All right, let me see here. I'm just going to get through the 2 $10 ones here, and then the rest we'll have to address in the next companion video. Charles Gray writes, John, my wife and I stumbled upon a movie with Sam Elliott on Hulu called The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot. That came out about a year or 2 ago, actually. I watched it simply because of the title. It was interesting. Have you seen it? Yes, finally. I got around to seeing it a few months ago, long after it had initially dropped. It wasn't as... It's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like with a movie that absolutely ridiculous of a title. And there's absolutely ridiculous elements to it as well, yes. But I'm basically one of these guys, dude, that I'll watch anything with Sam Elliott. But yes, if you have not had a chance to go see The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot, you should check it out. And I'm glad you brought it up again, Charles. Thanks, man. All right, final question we're going to cover here today. Herman Muller writes, asked Rob this yesterday with Kevin Feige working with Kennedy on a Star Wars project. Could this be a way that Disney is getting Feige to pass on / Vulcan mind meld managing a cinematic universe? No, it really, this is a situation that really is as simple as it appears. Kevin Feige just had an idea and he really wants, look, everybody knows Kevin Feige is one of the world's biggest Star Wars fans. And he's always wanted to do a Star Wars movie. And he simply had a conversation with Alan Horn first to say, would it be appropriate if I went and talked to Kathy about this? And then he went to Kathleen Kennedy, and Kathleen Kennedy heard the idea and thought it was a great idea, whatever that idea is. But I really don't think there's anything more. Like some people think, oh, they're grooming Kevin Feige to take over Star Wars. Kevin Feige's not going to take over Star Wars. That would just be a lateral move for him from Marvel. I believe they're grooming Kevin Feige to take over Alan Horn's job because Alan Horn has been like, guys, when are you going to let me retire? I came out of retirement for this damn job. That was like 20 years. It wasn't 20 years ago, but that was like 20 years ago. TikTok, everybody. I want to get back to my beach. Thank you very much. So I think they're grooming Kevin Feige to relieve Alan Horn, which would then, of course, put Kevin Feige over Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar and everything else, which would be amazing. But I don't know if it goes much more beyond that, Herman. Okay, for everybody else who sent in questions today, from the James Eversole and Mr. Sketch, Joseph Rotini, Avid, and everybody else all the way down whose questions we didn't get around to, do not worry. Your question will be answered on tomorrow's companion video. I would try to do it today, except I've got all my work I got to do this afternoon, and then I've got a screening tonight, so I'm not going to be able to get to the companion video today, because I also have a couple questions from yesterday's show that I need to get to as well. But that companion video will be done tomorrow, so that'll be Saturday that'll do the companion video. You guys sent in the questions, so your questions are going to get answered properly in a video, so just keep your guys' eyes open for that. And thank you, by the way, everybody, for sending in these questions, not just because you give us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel along the way while you did it. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show, and that'll wrap up another triumphant week here for us, guys. I hope you guys had a marvelous week, and I hope you have a fantastic, relaxing, fun things planned weekend with yourself, friends. Maybe you just need some alone time. Maybe you're getting together with your family. Whatever it is, I hope you have a fabulous weekend ahead of yourself, guys. Don't forget, on top of a companion video that's coming tomorrow, we're also going to do a open mic tomorrow. Keep your eyes open for that. And watch for my channel tonight, guys. I will be doing a right out of the theater first reaction to Knives Out as soon as I get out of the theaters tonight. So keep your eyes open on the YouTube channel for that as well. All right, guys, that will do it for me. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and being a part of the film fan community with me. My name is John Campea, and until next time, this is the way.